Chapter 1249. Vote up if you have a ticket. Paragon of Judgment was so angry that his eyes darkened. The fury in his heart almost spat out. Although he might not have dared to go against the agreement even if he knew that the Yarrow Emperor had ascended to ruler, it was true. If he had known, he might not have entered the life and death domain. After all, the letter of challenge wasn't flawless. As long as the other party came and fought, it would count. The rules couldn't punish him. But now, the Yarrow Emperor clearly wanted to trick him into entering the life and death domain. It made it impossible for him to do anything else. He had to have a life and death battle with him to decide the victor. Either you die, or I die. All paths of retreat were cut off. Out of the two, only one could survive. If it was before, Paragon of Judgment would have said that he would win without hesitation. But now, after witnessing Defy Shitien's ascension to ruler, his chances of winning dropped rapidly. The gap between the two of them was constantly narrowing. It was clear who would win and who would lose. This kind of calculation made him burn with anger. The Yarrow Emperor is ascending to ruler at this moment. It seems that he is indeed scheming. He actually pretended to be weak and let judgment enter the life and death domain. What a Yarrow Emperor! What a terrifying speed of ascension. Since the beginning of his cultivation, he has reached this step in such a short time. He even took a step that many half-step rulers might not be able to take in tens of thousands of years. If such an anomaly is allowed to grow, he will surpass us in a short time. Our previous preparations and plans were right. We can't let him have any chance of survival. The childlike forefather Terminator transmitted to the other paragons with a serious expression. Don't be anxious. It's not that easy to ascend to ruler. The fusion of flesh and yuan spirit is a Tao foundation that must be formed. But whether he can truly ascend depends on whether he can condense his own fate and become the master of his own destiny. Passing the ruler karmic calamity, the number of experts who have fallen in this trial is not small. The radiant God King said in a deep voice. Ascending to ruler? As expected, our calculations were not wrong. The Demon Emperor would definitely be the biggest variable and the biggest obstacle for us to invade the Purple Gold continent. Fortunately, we formed an alliance with the Supreme Ancient Immemorial Saint to kill the Demon Emperor. This time, we will definitely not let him continue to be unfettered. We must kill him in one strike. Long delays may lead to trouble. The fallen devil ancestor was also transmitting his voice to the 9 devil ancestors. Seeing the scene in the life and death extinction domain, everyone's face turned ugly. The advancement of the Demon Emperor undoubtedly meant that the Zijin continent's strength had increased. This was not good news for them. Each and every one of them had traces of killing intent circulating around their bodies. The atmosphere in the surroundings seemed to have changed on the spot. It was exceptionally oppressive. This scene naturally didn't escape the eyes of the 3 chief sovereigns of fate. Even they were shocked by Sakra's sudden ascension to the ruler realm. Even though they had obtained the divine tomb, they still found it difficult to ascend to the ruler realm. However, he did not expect that Defy Shitian would be able to reach this step silently. Good. 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 If the Fiend Emperor can become a sovereign, my Purple Gold continent will have another supreme expert. Fate, space, we have to be careful. Now that the Yarrow Emperor has become a sovereign, the Archean Autarch and the 9 Archdevil Patriarchs might not be willing to see him leave this place alive. The Demon Master laughed heartily, but at the same time, he also felt the chill of the surrounding atmosphere. No matter what price we have to pay, we must bring the Fiend Emperor out of this place alive. The chief sovereign of fate didn't say much. He only said this one sentence calmly, but it was clear that he valued the Fiend Emperor greatly. Of course, these words were only transmitted to the 3 of them. But now, the crowd was in an uproar. After witnessing Defy Shitian's breakthrough, all of them were so shocked that their eyeballs were about to fall out of their sockets. A sovereign. The Fiend Emperor really did become a sovereign. My goodness, am I dreaming? Breaking through in the middle of a battle? What kind of situation is this? The Fiend Emperor is already incomparably powerful, even daring to provoke autarchs. If he breaks through, who in the world won't he dare to provoke? A sovereign. Ha ha. Breaking through to the sovereign level is an extremely rare occurrence. For us to be able to witness it with our own eyes is the most inconceivable opportunity in the world. If I can comprehend the mysteries of breaking through to the sovereign level, then I'll be able to use this experience to advance even further. In the world, anyone who wanted to break through to the sovereign level would find a safe place to do so. Who would do it in such a public place? Let alone in the past, perhaps even in the future, they wouldn't have the opportunity to personally witness a sovereign breakthrough. This was a one-of-a-kind opportunity. All of the major powers widened their eyes in shock. Ignoring the strange atmosphere in the air, they stared fixedly at the battlefield, afraid that they would miss a single moment. They would regret it for the rest of their lives. Rumble. A dazzling beam of swordlight descended from the heavens. The Judgment War Sword sliced through space, carrying with it the will of judgment as it stabbed toward Di Shitian with lightning speed. Don't even think about successfully becoming a sovereign. I won't let you succeed. I'll make you fall on your path to becoming a sovereign. I'll make you die with everlasting regret. Kill. The autarch of judgment's lips curled into a savage grin. Countless living beings worshipped the sword. It was the kingdom of judgment. His domineering will caused the void beneath the sword to shatter. He wanted Di Shitian to die by his sword. How could he allow the sovereign to successfully become a sovereign? Bell of heavenly samsara, protect me. The bell of heaven's samsara suddenly appeared in front of the Judgment War Sword. Within the ancient bell, a blood-red light shot out from the blood-red demon-slaying gourd. A girl in blood-red clothes appeared on a blood-red flying knife and danced on the knife. As she danced, the blood-red knife slashed towards the Judgment War Sword. Clang. Although the dagger didn't break the Judgment War Sword, it dimmed the will of judgment imbued within it. It was sent flying. However, the bell of heavenly samsara shook, and the domineering sound of samsara swept up waves of sound that condensed into countless plates of samsara that continuously whittled away at the Judgment Warsword's power. Dark, Huan Di Shitian roared, I'll have to rely on you two to hold off the Judgment Warsword for now. Once I transcend my karmic tribulation and become a sovereign, the Judgment Warsword will die. Sensing the increasing pressure above his head, he knew the karmic tribulation was about to descend. He couldn't afford to be affected in any way. Without the slightest hesitation, he completely revealed his two trump cards. Don't worry, lunatic Di. As long as I, Dark, am here, even if I die, I won't let the Judgment Warsword near you. You must become a sovereign. Haha, the Master of Dark is a sovereign. If anyone dares to look down on me, I'll lock them up as I wish. Judgment, I'm going to fight you. Amidst the blood-red light, countless blood-red sabers danced in the sky. In an instant, they condensed into a blood-red dragon that was hundreds of thousands of meters long. Countless saber lights flickered around it. It appeared in front of the bell of heavenly samsara and entered it. Clang, clang, clang. The bell of heavenly samsara began to ring. The deafening chimes of the bell unleashed an unimaginable might, shattering the space in the surroundings. Waves of sound waves transformed into countless reincarnation discs that carried the power of reincarnation as they charged towards Paragon Judgment. A mere artifact soul wants to stop me? You're courting death. You're just an ant. The Paragon of Judgment was so angry that his eyes were spitting fire. He slashed his sword at the wheel of samsara. Wherever it went, the wheel of samsara would be crushed into pieces. At this moment, Di Shitian had no time to deal with anything else. His eyes were fixed on the 9-colored tribulation cloud above his head. Crack! The tribulation clouds gathered at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, they had completely covered the entire battlefield. They were so thick that they seemed like they were about to condense into a solid body. The overwhelming pressure crushed the chaotic storms that had appeared on the battlefield. The disasters all involuntarily stopped, turning into docile kittens. At the very center, there was a soft sound. The tribulation clouds quickly parted to two sides. A huge 9-colored eye appeared out of thin air. Within this eye, countless energy grid line chains were shuttling back and forth continuously, forming an endless amount of pressure that came crashing down on the Sacra Madly. As if it had its own consciousness, it stared at his face. Whoosh! This divine eye seemed to be able to see through everything in Di Shitien's body. It seemed to have sensed that his flesh and blood had merged with his primordial spirit, and that his true power had reached the sovereign realm. On the spot, there was no hesitation. A beam of 9-colored divine light shot out from the divine eye and shrouded him. It was extremely fast. Come, watch as I ask the heavens for my fate. Only I can control my own fate. Di Shitian stood in the void. His eyes emitted an extremely aggressive gaze as he stared at the divine light. He had no intention of dodging it. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the divine light shrouded his entire body. As soon as it shrouded him, a mysterious long river appeared before his eyes. In the long river, there seemed to be the fate of all things in the world. Traces of fate flickered. At the same time, he was shrouded by the divine light. It was as if time was passing at an astonishing speed. Strands of white hair appeared on his originally pitch-black hair at a speed visible to the naked eye. The number of strands of white hair increased at an astonishing speed with each breath. An aura of death enveloped his entire body. Sovereign karmic calamity, 3 lifetimes, 3 lifetimes. Fate in the void, sever 3 lifetimes, gather fate, and condense fate. Once the karmic calamity begins, there is no possibility of stopping. If I don't succeed, I'll die trying. The sovereign of fate looked at the divine light with a deep gaze. The divine light was called the light of 3 lifetimes. Once it landed on a person, no matter who it was, they would be completely destroyed and decayed within 45 minutes. They would be reduced to ashes. These 45 minutes represented 3 lifetimes, the past life, the present life, and the future. In other words, the past, present, and future. In a lifetime, there was a moment. 3 lifetimes and 3 minutes were engraved in heaven and earth. What was the sovereign of fate? It was because he could control his own fate, and his own future. In order to do so, he had to sever 3 lifetimes, gather fate, and condense the fate of a sovereign. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1250. Brothers, if you have tickets, please help me. 3 lives, 3 worlds was not really 3 reincarnations. It was the past, present, and future. This was fate. At the sovereign realm, if one had not severed 3 lifetimes, not only would they not be able to condense a fate chart, but they would also have an irreparable flaw. An expert at that level could use a shocking divine ability to directly enter their past and kill their past self. If their past self died, their present self would definitely suffer unimaginable injuries or even die. To form a birth chart, one had to sever the 3 lifetimes. There was only one way to sever the 3 lives, and that was the light of 3 lives that descended when one ascended to the sovereign realm. Although the light of 3 lives would completely consume the life of 3 lives within 45 minutes, once the 45 minutes were up, one would be unable to form a birth chart and die. However, within the light of 3 lives, one could enter the river of destiny, going back and forth between the past, present, and future. Heaven's mandate is heaven's mandate. Earth's mandate is earth's mandate. Man's mandate is mortal's mandate. Heaven's mandate cannot be violated. Earth's mandate cannot be reversed. Mortal's mandate cannot be changed. In an instant, a boundless river of destiny appeared before his eyes. In this long river, the figures of countless lives flashed one after another. All sorts of destinies intertwined together, forming an irresolvable fate. Gratitude and resentment, love and hatred, the passage of time. In that instant, it was as if the laws of heaven and earth were right before his eyes. My life is in my hands. Watch this emperor severing 3 lives. Rumble. Di Shitian stood in the divine light, not caring at all about his rapidly growing white hair. He lifted his foot, stepped into the void, and stepped into the boundless long river. As soon as he stepped into the river of destiny, a purple gold crystal silently fell onto the battlefield. This river was formed from the convergence of the destinies of countless living beings. As soon as he entered, countless destinies frantically wrapped around him. Countless fate seals surged forth like a tide. He wanted to hinder his footsteps. Time is the mark, destiny is the track. Swim in destiny, return to the pass. Di Shitien's imperial tyrant heart mantra continued to circulate in his mind, emitting a mysterious imperial hymn. He wasn't affected by the seal of fate that was approaching him at all as he uttered a single word. In an instant, he captured the aura and trajectory of his own destiny within the long river of destiny. Although his fate was mysterious and unpredictable, and no one could control his future, as long as it happened, it would exist in the traces of time, in the long river of fate. What happened could not be changed. Although the future was unpredictable, the past could be clearly investigated. On the spot, he felt that in the long river of destiny, traces of life marks that were identical to his instantly appeared in his mind. Whoosh! He raised his foot and took a step forward along the path guided by his life mark. This step was like stepping into a space-time tunnel. A strange void appeared before his eyes. In the void, various scenes flashed before his eyes. Astonishingly, everything that had happened to him along the way could be clearly seen. This was a mark left behind by fate. Grotesque and gaudy, the passage of time, as if time and space had changed, the scenery in front of him suddenly changed. What appeared in front of him was the scene of the Tiger Hill mountain range. In front of his eyes, a robust black tiger was doing its best to smash its body against trees, rocks, and rocks. It was doing its best to temper its body. Its resolute eyes were filled with an unyielding belief. Di Shitien's hair had turned snowy white. Traces of time appeared on his face. Vaguely, he looked like he was in his 30s. The power of the light of 3 lifetimes could continuously devour his life. This emperor's past only represents the past. My past is the beginning of the present. It is an eternal memory. Although it is a mortal body, it is the foundation stone. My past will not tolerate any blasphemy. Di Shitien silently looked at his past body that was tempering its abilities in the Tiger Hill. In his mind, traces of memories continuously appeared. There seemed to be a trace of melancholy in his eyes. However, he did not hesitate. In the blink of an eye, he had turned around. With supreme dignity, he slowly uttered a sentence. He spat out the word / crack. In the sky above the Tiger Hill, a purplish gold emperor's sword condensed out of thin air. The sword landed on the body of the black tiger in the past. The black tiger in the past did not have the slightest ability to resist and was shattered on the spot. Rumble. The surrounding destiny space suddenly collapsed. The memories of the past were shattered, turning into countless fragments of destiny. They gathered together at an unbelievable speed. The formless flames of destiny ignited. Countless tiny fragments of destiny were quickly refined in the flames of destiny. In the blink of an eye, all the fragments gathered into one. It turned into a crystal-like oval-shaped stone. On the stone, traces of destiny could be seen. Vaguely, scrolls of pictures flickered and changed on the stone. This stone shone with an unusual divine radiance as it landed in Indra's hand. He glanced at it and said, "Human life stone, mortal life stone. From today onwards, in the river of destiny, in this world, no one will be able to find any traces of this emperor's past." This mortal stone had completely slashed the past. This stone was the past. It contained all the traces of the past. Whoosh. Slash the past, slash the present. Indra stepped forward, following the flow of the river of fate as he continued onwards. He passed through the destiny space. The past was easy to slash, but the present was hard to cut, and the future was hard to predict. This was the most difficult and terrifying thing to say when ascending to the sovereign realm. In the blink of an eye, they were in another dimension of destiny. Yang Qi and Yang Qi were in a different dimension. In this space, there was an emperor's body, wearing a black emperor's robe, sitting on a throne in the clouds. He had an aura of disdain for the world, standing proudly. A pair of eyes instantly opened and landed on Di Shitian. "I am your present life, your present body. What you know, I also know. What you know, I also know. How strong you are, I will be as strong. If you want to kill me, it's the same as killing yourself. If you don't kill me, you will never get the Earth Fate Stone. Defeat me, and you will get the Earth Fate Stone. Hurry. Sitting on the throne, the present body exuded a majestic emperor's aura as he spoke calmly. Sakra's eyes shot out a threatening divine light. Looking at himself who was sitting in front of him, countless rays of wisdom flickered in his mind. His eyes were filled with the splendor of wisdom as he smiled calmly. You are me, and I am you. If I die, you will also die. Watch this emperor slash the present life. Di Shitian laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with joy and freedom. There was also a kind of endless decisiveness. He reached out his right hand. The moment he reached out, his entire hand turned into a mysterious purple gold color. A vast amount of mighty energy gathered in his hand like a tide. He raised his arm and slammed his palm down on the top of his head. If I die, you will also die. Crack. Sakra didn't have the slightest bit of reservation in this palm strike and directly patted on his own head. The decisiveness of an emperor was thoroughly revealed. The enormous mighty energy in his hand instantly poured out. In an instant, the entire emperor's body, starting from the head, started to crumble and explode. It was destroyed on the spot. This was self-destruction. If others wanted to kill him, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, if he wanted to die, it was the easiest thing in the world. On the spot, his body turned into dust, and there was no trace of life left. Good. Now that the present body saw it, his black hair danced wildly behind his head, and he could not help but burst out laughing. With a kind of arrogance, the entire emperor's body turned into dust. In the void, the invisible fire of destiny appeared out of nowhere. At the place where the present body fell, a white stone formed out of thin air. On the stone, a figure that was exactly the same as Sakra was engraved on it. A kind of aura that existed in the present constantly spread out and circulated within. In an instant, it shot out quickly and broke through the void. Whoosh! In the light of 3 lives on the battlefield, a black stone and a snow-white stone appeared out of thin air and floated up and down. Mortal life stone, earth life stone. The shifter emperor actually slashed his past body in 15 minutes and used the fire of destiny to form the life stone. Now, the present body is the most difficult to sever. How did he do it? Also, where is the shifter emperor now? Is he going to the future to sever his future body? The goddess of wisdom took a deep breath and muttered. Countless lights of wisdom flickered in her mind as she quickly calculated Di Shitian's intentions in her mind. One had to know that the most amazing thing about the future was not to sever one's future body, but to sever one's connection with destiny. To cut off one's destiny. To intercept one's destiny. To intercept one's future. To form the destiny stone. It was not to sever one's future body. Severing one's destiny meant that one no longer existed in destiny, and the future would be created by oneself. Without an unprecedented power, it was impossible to sever one's connection with destiny. Moreover, there was only one chance to sever one's destiny, and that was during the short period of time in the light of 3 lives. If one could not sever one's destiny, there would be no need to create a future, and there would be no future at all. How could the shifter emperor sever his 2 bodies so quickly? In the hearts of the 9 great demon ancestors, they were also greatly shocked by the scene before them. Although severing 3 lives was very dangerous, one would not understand it if they had not experienced it before. It was a journey of 9 deaths. Rumble. At this moment, in the light of 3 lives, a purple gold divine light suddenly shot up into the sky. Within the divine light, Di Shitian's emperor body appeared out of nowhere again. The aura on his body became even more mysterious, as if it could surpass heaven and earth at any time. Countless chains of laws shuttled through his flesh. My destiny is determined by my own heart, and it will never be controlled by the river of destiny. My heart is the future. Sword of the heart, sever the future. Whoosh! A purple gold daoist sword shot out from his heart and slashed down toward his head. There was a cracking sound. The river of destiny above his head suddenly collapsed. It was completely shattered. Countless fragments of destiny gathered at the center at an astonishing speed, and in the blink of an eye, they turned into a purple gold stone. It seemed to contain an unfathomable destiny. Heaven, earth, and man, the 3 stones become one. 3 lives, 3 generations. My destiny is mine, not the heavens. Ruler's destiny, gather. Although the future was unpredictable, the past could be clearly investigated. On the spot, he felt that in the long river of destiny, traces of life marks that were identical to his instantly appeared in his mind. Whoosh! He raised his foot and took a step forward along the path guided by his life mark. This step was like stepping into a space-time tunnel. A strange void appeared before his eyes. In the void, various scenes flashed before his eyes. Astonishingly, everything that had happened to him along the way could be clearly seen. This was a mark left behind by fate. Grotesque and gaudy, the passage of time, as if time and space had changed, the scenery in front of him suddenly changed. What appeared in front of him was the scene of the Tiger Hill mountain range. In front of his eyes, a robust black tiger was doing its best to push its body against trees, rocks, and rocks. It was doing its best to temper its body. Its resolute eyes were filled with an unyielding belief. Shitien's hair had turned snow-white. Traces of time appeared on his face. Vaguely, he looked like he was in his 30s. The power of the light of 3 lifetimes could continuously devour his life. My past only represents the past. My past is the beginning of the present, and it is an eternal memory. Although it is a mortal body, it is the foundation stone. My past will not be blasphemed. Shitien silently looked at his past body that was tempering its abilities in the Tiger Hill. In his mind, traces of memories kept surging. There seemed to be a trace of melancholy in his eyes. However, he did not hesitate. In the blink of an eye, he had turned around. With supreme dignity, he slowly uttered a sentence. He spat out the word / crack. In the sky above the Tiger Hill, a purple-gold emperor's sword condensed out of thin air. The sword landed on the body of the black tiger in the past. The black tiger in the past did not even have the slightest ability to resist and was shattered on the spot. Rumble. The surrounding space of destiny suddenly collapsed. The memories of the past were shattered, turning into countless fragments of destiny. They gathered together at an unbelievable speed and condensed into a single point. An invisible flame of destiny lit up. Countless tiny fragments of destiny were quickly smelted in the flame of destiny. In the blink of an eye, all the fragments gathered into one. It turned into a crystal-like oval-shaped stone. On the stone, traces of fate could be seen. Vaguely, scrolls of pictures were constantly flickering and changing on the stone. This stone shone with an unusual divine radiance as it landed in Indra's hand. He glanced at it and said, "Mortal life stone, mortal life stone. From today onwards, in the river of destiny, in this world, no one will be able to find traces of this emperor's past." This mortal stone had completely slashed the past. This stone was the past. It contained all the traces of the past. Whoosh. Slash the past, slash the present. Indra stepped forward, following the flow of the river of fate as he continued onward. He traversed through the space of destiny. The past was easy to slash, but the present was hard to cut, and the future was hard to predict. This was the most difficult and terrifying thing to say when ascending to the sovereign realm. Traversing through the long river of destiny, in the blink of an eye, he entered another space of destiny. In this space, there was an emperor's body, wearing a black emperor's robe, sitting on a throne in the clouds. He had an aura of disdain for the world and stood proudly. A pair of eyes instantly opened and landed on Shitien. "I am your present life, your present body. What you know, I also know. What you know, I also know. However strong you are, I will be as strong. If you want to kill me, it's the same as killing yourself. If you don't kill me, you will never be able to obtain the Earth Fate Stone. Defeat me, and you will be able to obtain the Earth Fate Stone. Hurry." The present body sitting on the throne exuded a majestic emperor's aura as he spoke calmly. Indra's eyes emitted an oppressive divine light. Looking at himself who was sitting in front of him, countless rays of wisdom flickered in his mind. His eyes were filled with the divine splendor of wisdom as he smiled calmly, You are me, and I am you. If I die, you will also die. Watch this emperor end this life. Di Shitian laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with joy and ease. There was a kind of boundless decisiveness in it. He stretched out his right hand decisively. The moment it stretched out, his entire hand turned into a mysterious purple-gold color. A vast amount of grand energy gathered in his hand like a tide. He raised his hand and slapped towards the top of his head with the back of his hand. If I die, you will also die. Crack. Sakura didn't have the slightest bit of reservation in this palm strike and directly patted on his own head. The decisiveness of an emperor was thoroughly revealed. A vast amount of grand energy poured out from his hand. In an instant, his entire emperor's body, starting from his head, started to crumble and explode. He was annihilated on the spot. This was self-destruction. If others wanted to kill him, it would be as difficult as ascending the heavens. However, if he wanted to die, it was the easiest thing in the world. On the spot, his body was ground to dust, and there was no trace of life left. Good. Now that his body saw it, his black hair danced wildly behind his head as he laughed maniacally. With a kind of arrogance, his entire emperor's body was annihilated. It turned into dust. In the void, the invisible fire of destiny appeared out of nowhere. At the place where his body fell, a white stone formed out of thin air. On the stone, a figure that was exactly the same as Sakura was engraved on it. A kind of aura that existed in the present constantly spread out and circulated within it. In an instant, it shot out quickly and broke through the void. Whoosh! In the light of 3 lives on the battlefield, a black stone and a snow-white stone appeared out of thin air and floated up and down. Mortal life stone, earth life stone. The shifter emperor actually slashed his body consecutively in 15 minutes and used the fire of destiny to form a life stone. Now, the body is the most difficult to sever. How did he do it? Also, where is the shifter emperor now? Is he going to the future to sever his future body? The goddess of wisdom took a deep breath and muttered. Countless lights of wisdom flickered in her mind as she quickly calculated Di Shitian's intentions in her mind. One had to know that the most mysterious thing about the future was not to sever one's future body, but to sever one's connection with destiny. To cut off one's destiny. To intercept one's destiny. To intercept one's future. To form a destiny stone. It was not to sever one's future body. To sever one's destiny was to stop existing in one's destiny and create one's own future. Without an unprecedented power, it was impossible to sever one's connection with destiny. Moreover, there was only one chance to sever one's destiny, and that was during the short period of time in the light of 3 lives. Once one failed to sever one's destiny, there would be no need to create a future. How could the shifter emperor sever his 2 bodies so quickly? The 9 fiend ancestors were also greatly shocked by the scene before them. Although the light of 3 lives was severed, it was still very dangerous. Without experiencing it, one would never understand how dangerous it was. Rumble. At this moment, in the light of 3 lives, a purple-gold divine light suddenly shot up into the sky. Within the divine light, Di Shitian's emperor body mysteriously appeared again. The aura on his body became even more mysterious, as if it was above heaven and earth at any time. Countless chains of laws shuttled through his flesh. My destiny is determined by my own heart and will never be controlled by the river of destiny. My heart is the future. Sword of the heart, sever the future. Whoosh. A purple-gold daoist sword shot out from his heart and slashed down toward his head. There was a cracking sound. The river of destiny above his head suddenly collapsed. It was completely shattered. Countless fragments of destiny gathered at the center at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, they turned into a purple stone. It seemed to contain an unfathomable destiny. Heaven, earth, and man, the 3 stones become one. 3 lives, 3 generations. My destiny is mine, not the heavens. Ruler's life providence, gather. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chijian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1252. His words shocked the primal chaos. Even the many primes and archfiend ancestors were shocked by his words. What a monster emperor! He's indeed an anomaly. Although his fate is in the river of fate, it's not controlled or manipulated by fate. His connection with heaven and earth is extremely weak. Once he severed the past and the present, he can feel his connection with fate even more clearly. It's easier for him to break free and sever his connection with the river of fate. The illusory goddess's eyes shone with a dreamy light as she muttered to herself. An anomaly. Once he grows up, all-powerful obstacles are nothing in front of him. His fate is no longer in the control of heaven and earth. The most difficult hurdle seems to be in vain. Heaven, earth, and man are the three life stones. One life stone. Once they condense into one, they become the three life stone. Heaven and earth can no longer stop him. Archfiend Fateless took a deep breath. His expression was unusually solemn as he spoke slowly. Those whose fate could not be affected by heaven and earth and who could not see the future were anomalies. If such an existence did not die prematurely, his speed of growth would be so fast that even a genius would not be able to catch up to him. This was especially true when it came to condensing birth charts and severing the future. Monster Emperor, it's impossible for you to become a sovereign. Today, I'll let you know that I'm not someone a mere ant like you can scheme against. I'll make sure you fall on your path to becoming a sovereign so that you'll never be able to rest in peace. Paragon Judgment repeatedly struck the bell of reincarnation before he was sucked into the virtual illusory realm. However, he was a paragon after all, and he had long been on guard against the power of desire. Even the virtual illusory realm could not trap him. In the blink of an eye, he broke out of the boundless illusory realm. Sword after sword struck the bell of heaven's samsara, causing it to tremble incessantly as its divine light dimmed. Although it sounded long, in reality, since Sakra Shatien started transcending the tribulation until now, it had merely been a few breaths of time, less than a quarter of an hour. When he saw Sakra easily sever his 3 lives and was about to condense his birth chart, he didn't even think about it as a wisp of an arc that was filled with killing intent appeared on the corners of his mouth. How could he watch helplessly as his great enemy smoothly advanced? Whoosh! Light flashed in his hand and an ancient battle bow appeared in his hand. On both sides of the bow were 2 strange dragon tails, one black and one white. Fine dragon scales could be seen clearly. The dragon's body turned into the body of the bow and the 2 dragons' mouths met in the middle of the bow. It was a marvelous scene of 2 dragons fighting over a pearl. If there was a battle arrow, the position of the battle arrow would be exactly where the 2 dragons were fighting over the dragon pearl. The entire battle bow exuded a vast pressure. Black and white divine light alternated, and the energy of yin and yang circulated. Every dragon scale flickered with profound runes. Vaguely, there seemed to be the charm of creation and the power of annihilation. The word annihilation appeared on the bow. Annihilation war bow. He held the battle bow in his left hand, while a light flashed in his right hand. A pitch-black battle arrow fell into his hand out of thin air. There seemed to be millions of mysterious runes on the battle arrow. Countless strands of strange black chi intertwined on the arrow. Every strand of this black chi emitted a terrifying decay chi, as if it wanted to completely decay everything in the world. It carried the aura of doomsday. Annihilation warbow, doomsday divine arrow. As expected, these 2 items fell into the hands of judgment. For the Yarrow Emperor, he even took out these 2 supreme treasures. It seems that the Yarrow Emperor is going to fall on his path to becoming a sovereign. A strange light flashed through the goddess of wisdom's eyes. Decaying chi, that arrow has decaying chi. That's a power that would only appear when the world is about to be destroyed. To think that paragon of judgment would condense it into a divine arrow. Oh no, the Shifter Emperor is in danger. The Space Dominus' heart thumped as he sensed the terrifying power contained in the divine arrow. His expression changed drastically. The 5 decays of the celestial being couldn't do anything to a sovereign. It was an unparalleled tribulation. A sovereign's yuan spirit and physical body were one, so the 5 decays couldn't harm a sovereign's body in the slightest. However, sovereigns also had their own tribulation. It was a kind of decay chi that would only appear when heaven and earth were destroyed. Of course, Ordinary decay chi couldn't pose a threat to a sovereign. However, the arrow in front of them was an arrow of doomsday that Paragon of Judgment had spent countless years refining. If a sovereign was struck, they would fall like a bird. It could even corrode a sovereign's body. Kill. Paragon of Judgment's expression was cold and emotionless. He stood in the air with the arrow of doomsday nocked on his warbow. His right hand erupted with a burst of mighty power as he drew the ancient warbow inch by inch. At the same time, the tendons and bones in his arm rumbled like dragons and serpents. He was under immense pressure. Drawing the warbow required boundless strength. Although it was difficult, he still managed to draw the bow into a full moon. Huan the lunatic emperor can't be disturbed. As long as we block this arrow, Judgment will definitely die when the lunatic emperor becomes a sovereign. Even if we have to give up our lives, we must block this arrow today. Within the bell of reincarnation, Dark's eyes were bloodshot. He stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. His expression was savage and cruel, not to others, but to himself. Come. Even if I die, I, Dark, will be able to look down on all eternity. I will die at the hands of a paragon. Reincarnation of the heavens. Clang. 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 The ancient bell rang crazily under Dark's control. Sound waves erupted with destructive power that could annihilate everything. The void distorted inch by inch, and everything within a radius of tens of thousands of miles turned into a domain of sound. Time and space caused the space in this domain to fold countless times. It also contained the power of time, causing everything within this domain to slow down or even stop. The wheel of reincarnation filled every inch of the domain, crushing everything in its path. Heavenly wheel of desire. Huana transformed into a girl in snow-white robes. She stood barefooted and pointed a finger forward. A pitch-black wheel appeared, and an army of desire surged out from it. Destroy. Whoosh. Paragon of Judgment sneered as he looked forward. He released the bowstring in his hand, and a pitch-black stream of light shot out. The pitch-black arrow of doomsday shot into the domain of sound like a shooting star. Every inch of space within the domain of sound folded countless times, and time slowed down. The moment it entered the domain of sound, its original speed was reduced by more than half. However, the void beneath the arrow was destroyed inch by inch. An aura of death surged toward Di Shitian. But at this moment, Sakura did not care about anything else. The 3 life stones in his hand quickly gathered in the middle. In the void, a ball of purple-gold flame appeared out of nowhere. Within the flame, there seemed to be the domineering wills of countless emperors. This was a divine flame formed from the emperor's will, and the life stones were forcefully merged with the life stones. Rumble. The 3 life stones were formed by Di Shitian's fate, so they came from the same source. Under the domineering flames of the will, the black, white, and purple life stones melted at a speed visible to the naked eye, turning into droplets of liquid. This was the life origin. The 3 types of life origin merged into a single droplet. They turned into a single drop of purple-gold liquid. In the blink of an eye, the 3 life stones melted. They gathered together and quickly fused into a ball of purple-gold liquid. Within this liquid, a powerful emperor's aura spread out in all directions. Ultimate Emperor Dao. I am the Emperor. Di Shitian's emperor's aura was strong. With a thought, the Dao he cultivated burst out of his body, and a purple-gold pillar of the great Dao shot into the sky. The pillar was illusory at the beginning, but it quickly became solid. The words of the ultimate emperor shocking the world turned into emperor's language and were engraved on the pillar. This was his unique ultimate Emperor Dao. Great Dao fusion, fate chart formation. The boundless great Dao, which exuded a monstrous emperor's aura, rushed toward the liquid formed by the life stones. As soon as the 2 came into contact, they fused together at a shocking speed. The ball of liquid rapidly changed shape and radiated a dazzling purple-gold divine radiance. This transformation was abnormally fast. In the blink of an eye, a violet gold, diamond-shaped, and eye-shaped crystal had appeared in front of him. Within the crystal, a vast ultimate Emperor Dao stood straight, emitting an endless amount of pressure. The surrounding void collapsed under the pressure. Fate chart. This was the most precious fate chart in the world, the ruler's fate chart. Swoosh. The extreme emperor birth chart did not stop at all as it entered the heavenly monarch emperor's body, aiming for his heart. As soon as it entered, Di Shitian closed his eyes. It was as if he was completely fusing with the fate chart and making the final breakthrough. Crack. However, at this moment, the pitch-black arrow of doomsday pierced through the void inch by inch with unbelievable power. Time, space, and anything that stood in its way were shattered. Time, space, and time were destroyed. The wheel of samsara was destroyed. The devil-slaying flying saber was shattered. Countless disasters were annihilated. Thousands of fire crows fell. The wheel of desire was destroyed. The arrow of doomsday seemed to bring about endless doomsday. In front of it, any power was destroyed. Wherever it went, it destroyed everything in its path. Under the power of decay, any kind of power would be crushed into dust without exception. The terrifying scene caused the expressions of countless cultivators outside to change drastically. Their hearts were filled with fear. This was especially so in the demon court. Countless sorrowful cries could be heard. Lunatic Di, avenge me. Trial, I'll wait for you on the path of death. The bell of heaven's reincarnation emitted a dazzling divine radiance. Vaguely, the figure of a huge blood dragon could be seen roaring. The ancient bell frantically devoured everything in its surroundings. A huge wheel of samsara appeared at the mouth of the bell. An unprecedented pressure soared into the sky like a tide. With an indomitable spirit, it charged toward the arrow of doomsday. Clang! The divine arrow collided with the ancient bell. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. Everything seemed to have stopped at this moment. However, one could clearly see the divine arrow piercing through the ancient bell inch by inch. Under the corrosive energy, the blood dragon inside the ancient bell was destroyed inch by inch. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1253. Those with tickets, please help me. Come at me, Judge. Bulsh * T prime. I, Dark, am not afraid of you. Under the arrow, it was annihilated inch by inch. The body formed by countless blood blades crumbled continuously. The blood blades were reduced to fine powder, and not even the powder could be found. Ming's eyes were filled with madness. He let out a ferocious roar. Even at this moment, he was still frantically controlling the bell of heaven's reincarnation to resist the divine arrow of doomsday. At this moment, he seemed to have put aside all thoughts of prime and life and death. He was using death to create the brightest light in his life. Warden. Huan Er's expression changed drastically. She let out a cry of grief. Rumble. Dark's body instantly self-destructed. The violent and destructive power crazily attacked the divine arrow of doomsday. Traces of corrosive power were continuously worn down. In the blink of an eye, even the arrow's body dimmed slightly. The boundless power of reincarnation in the bell frantically cleansed the arrow. It wore down the power within. Crack. However, no matter how hard he tried to block it, he couldn't stop the terrifying destructive power. The divine arrow pierced through the ancient bell, creating a terrifying hole. It shot toward Di Shitian's heart like a bolt of lightning. It carried with it the aura of doomsday. It wanted to pierce through his heart and bring about endless death. Husband. Chen Shi, Katomi, and the others saw this. Their faces paled, and their bodies trembled as they let out sorrowful cries. Your Majesty. Tian Kan, Huang Quan, and the other high-ranking officials of the monster court and countless monsters roared furiously. Their guts were about to explode. Their eyes were wide open, and traces of blood flowed out. The crowd was furious. The Demon Lord, the Space Lord, and the Fate Lord all panicked. This change came too quickly. Moreover, the arrow was the terrifying divine arrow of doomsday. No one had expected the Judgment Society to have such a terrifying trump card. They had completely lost the initiative to stop it. While they were shocked, they also felt pain in their hearts. This loss was too great. It was so great that they couldn't bear it. On the contrary, the other primordial supremes and demon ancestor revealed excited expressions, and even imperceptible smiles appeared on their faces. They felt relieved. The pressure that the monster emperor brought them was too great. If he died, it would undoubtedly be a joyous matter. Whoosh! However, just as the doomsday arrow was about to pierce through Di Shitian's body, a divine light suddenly flashed from his body, and an ancient scroll appeared out of thin air, blocking in front of the doomsday arrow. The scroll unfurled, and a vast and magnificent painting of the nation of rivers and mountains appeared before his eyes. Every blade of grass and tree inside was vivid and lifelike, emitting a natural charm. At a glance, it was as if they were really looking at a vast expanse of mountains and rivers. Faintly, birds and beasts could be seen running and soaring, blocking in front of the doomsday arrow. The divine arrow landed on the scroll without any surprise. Immediately, ripples appeared on the scroll like water ripples. The divine arrow inexplicably entered the scroll. In the scroll, a picture of a divine arrow appeared. The divine arrow pierced through the air at an incredible speed. Everywhere it went, flowers, plants, and trees withered. There was a sense of desolation in the surroundings. Not a single blade of grass grew. Life was extinguished. However, the mountains and rivers in the scroll seemed to be endless. No matter how fast the divine arrow was, it couldn't travel to the end. It continued to break through the air in the scroll. It didn't stop. What kind of scroll is that? It can actually block such a tyrannical arrow and swallow the divine arrow. The doomsday arrow, this is the divine arrow that brought about the end of the world. This scroll can actually accommodate its existence and didn't completely decay. Could this be a powerful treasure? The monster emperor actually has such a method. As expected of the monster emperor, he has so many trump cards. No one can predict until the end. This scene immediately made many cultivators exclaim. This kind of reversal of a certain death situation made them feel like their hearts were about to break. It was too exciting. At this moment, Di Shitian's body was undergoing an earth-shattering transformation. In his body, the 13 monster veins were completely connected. His 7 emotions and 6 desires were all perfected. Every inch of his flesh and blood transformed into crystals at an astonishing speed. Every inch of his flesh and blood was filled with energy. Those crystals gathered together and turned into divine chains of the Supreme Emperor Great Tao, shuttling through his flesh and blood. His entire body was no longer pure flesh and blood, but was condensed from countless divine chains of the Supreme Emperor Great Tao. The birth chart and the heart were perfectly integrated. The Supreme Emperor Great Tao inside was constantly being perfected, almost reaching perfection at an astonishing speed. If one looked closely, they would find that the divine chains of the Supreme Emperor Great Tao in his flesh and blood were completely derived from the birth chart. The entire body of the monster Emperor Great Tao had transformed into flesh and blood, but his flesh and blood were so strong that even spirit treasures and supreme treasures couldn't destroy it. With just a thought, the divine chains of the Supreme Emperor Great Tao in his flesh and blood would immediately appear and burst out with monstrous power. The pleasure of having complete control over one's own fate surged into his heart. Vaguely, his entire mind and will were crazily climbing and transforming. The will of the Supreme Emperor Great Tao and divine body collided madly, constantly deriving from each other. With every breath, they expanded at the speed of hundreds of feet, even tens of thousands of feet. In the blink of an eye, they had reached the same size as his monster Emperor Great Tao. A feeling of incomparable power emerged from the bottom of his heart, and an invincible belief was born. He felt that as long as he willed it, he could shatter heaven and earth with a single hand and crush the chaos. Creation of heaven and earth. Evolution of all things. The laws of heaven and earth could no longer restrain his footsteps. It was as if the heavy shackles on his body had been completely removed. That kind of ease and strength, like a fish in water, constantly strengthened his conviction. Everything in heaven and earth was no longer a secret in his eyes. He could clearly see the operation of the laws in every area. Dominating. This was the feeling of dominating everything, the feeling of dominating heaven and earth. His strength increased by 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. The Supreme Emperor Indestructible Imperial Talisman underwent a new transformation, becoming even more mysterious, powerful, and stable. His primordial spirit and flesh and blood had completely merged. There was no longer any difference between the primordial spirit and flesh. The 13th monster vein, the monster vein of emotion, was completely broken. 9 of the Supreme Emperor's true acupoints were instantly opened, and the number of acupoints in his body reached a huge number of 117. The new acupoints also underwent a transformation. They became 9 new bottomless pits. They wantonly devoured the vast yuan qi of heaven and earth. All these insights kept appearing in his mind. But the time that passed was only a few breaths. Whoosh! His closed eyes suddenly opened, and 2 beams of purple-gold divine light shot out from his eyes. Rumble! Wherever the divine light went, the void seemed to be subjected to an irresistible force, constantly crumbling and being pierced by the divine light. Di Shitian's emperor's robe fluttered without wind, and his black hair fluttered wildly behind his head. His gaze fell on the scroll in front of him, looking at the arrow of doomsday that was still being destroyed, and the gaze in his eyes became unusually cold. The emperor's aura that had reached its peak was like a tidal wave that crushed and distorted the void. That aura, with just a frown, could make a peerless expert tremble in fear. That was the Supreme Emperor's aura that was above all living beings. Clang! He reached out and grabbed the ancient bell that had been pierced through. His cold gaze fell on the ancient bell, looking at its dim divine light and the traces of tragic will left behind after dark self-destruction. Memories of the underworld surged out of Xiao Chen's mind. On his path of cultivation, it could be said that Nether was both a teacher and a friend to him. Even if Nether hadn't been a top-notch assistant to him in battle, Nether had always occupied an extremely important position in his heart. Underworld was dead. Very good, Di Shitian slowly said, looking coldly at the paragon of judgment. His eyes were emotionless as he said coldly, Dark said that it would wait for you on the Huangquan road. This is Dark's final wish, and I will fulfill it for him. Paragon, so what if you're a paragon? You see me as an ant, you see Ming as an ant. I will stomp you to death. I will trample you to death as if you're an ant. You will be buried with Dark. Every word and sentence carried a kind of will that was like the will of the heavens. The words that were spat out would come true. Do you really think you're worthy of killing me, Yarrow Emperor? So what if you're a sovereign? I'll slaughter you all the same. Paragon of Judgment's expression was vicious. Seeing Di Shitian become a sovereign had infuriated him to the extreme. For him to be compared to an ant was a great humiliation. Die. Paragon of Judgment waved his sword, and a domineering will of judgment erupted. Judgment Sword Codex, lawless. It was a sword that could destroy even the heavens. Any laws or restrictions would be reduced to dust by this sword. Lawless, I'm the sovereign. A sword that could tear apart the heavens and the earth. It slashed toward Di Shitian. Rumble. Di Shitian took a step forward, his left foot casually stomping toward Paragon of Judgment. It was as if the earth had shrunk to an inch. In the blink of an eye, he appeared above Paragon of Judgment's head. As he stomped down, countless scrolls of mountains and rivers appeared beneath his feet. It was as if mountains and rivers were toppling over. Everything was collapsing. That single stomp of his could truly bring forth a boundless mountain and river. That boundless might was something that could shatter a peerless being before it even landed on the ground. Emperor Extreme Heaven Warring Step. Mountains and rivers collapse. Under this stomp, Paragon of Judgment felt as if he was an ant struggling in the mortal world. A strong sense of powerlessness rose within him. However, this feeling was immediately dispelled. He was even more furious. Paragon of Judgment thrust his sword toward Di Shitian's head, intending to pierce a hole in his left foot. Rumble. Under the boundless mountains and rivers, Paragon of Judgment's sword was insignificant. However, when the two collided, a terrifying rumble was heard. The surrounding void shattered continuously. The mountains and rivers beneath Paragon of Judgment's feet were quickly destroyed. The heavy power of the mountains and rivers forced Paragon of Judgment, who was standing in mid-air, to fall down. Paragon of Judgment fell down. Bastard, how dare you? Paragon of Judgment's face was pale. The fury in his heart was about to burst out from his eyes. With a furious roar, a pagoda pressed down on Di Shitian. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chijian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1254. Humiliation. Utter humiliation. Ever since Paragon of Judgment became an archaic supreme, no one in the primal chaos dared to stand on top of his head. Now, not only was the demon emperor standing on top of him, but he was stepping on him from above like he was stepping on an ant. This was a blatant slap to the face, a slap that was quite loud and quite brazen. He had never been humiliated like this ever since he was born. Get the hell down here. Paragon of Judgment raged. The huge Paragon of Judgment pagoda flickered with countless mysterious runes and ancient Tao runes. Strands of primal chaos chi appeared as if they were going to collapse the primal chaos chi. Each strand of primal chaos chi turned into a domineering primal chaos sword that revolved around the pagoda. It pressed down on Di Shitian from the sky. How dare you call yourself a Paragon of Judgment for your immoral conduct? You are unjust and unjust. You are not a Paragon of Judgment, but a Paragon of Judgment. There was only boundless coldness in Indra's eyes. That was a type of coldness that could freeze all living things. It was as though he could see through the pagoda and see through the countless experts imprisoned within. His entire body took advantage of the step he took earlier and soared up once again, exuding the aura of an emperor as a terrifying pressure gushed forth. He appeared on top of the pagoda. He stretched out his right foot again and stomped on the pagoda. Rumble. The void rumbled and shook continuously. It was as if it could not withstand the heavy force and was about to shatter. Beneath his feet, a boundless starry sky suddenly appeared out of nowhere. This starry sky stretched as far as the eye could see. Every single star was real, no longer illusory. This was a terrifying power akin to that of the Creator. Every single star was arranged in a mysterious formation at an astonishing speed. A majestic aura whizzed down. It was not just a foot that was stomping down, but a boundless starry sky. Countless stars gathered to form a huge array. Suddenly, one could see the stars gathering the power of the array and colliding with the pagoda. The stars were annihilated when they collided with the pagoda. Destructive astral energy burst forth, filled with violence and destruction. Endless starry light covered the sky. Every ray was like a divine ray that could pierce through the primal chaos chi. Boom! Boom! The countless swords on the Supreme Tower of Judgment madly attacked Xing Chen. However, the number of stars was simply inconceivable. As he stepped down, the starry sky poured down. Then, the entire starry sky was annihilated. When a star exploded, not even a matchless expert could ignore it. The destruction of a starry sky would produce a destructive force. Even the hegemons had to back down. Crack. This stomp was extremely domineering, pouring all the power of cosmic annihilation into the tower. Even with the power of the Supreme Tower of Judgment, countless profound origin swords were instantly reduced to dust. The light on the tower rapidly dimmed, and with a crisp crack, a hideous crack appeared on the tower, penetrating the entire tower. The pagoda flew backward. Haha, I'm free now. Paragon of Judgment, I'll definitely take my revenge for being imprisoned. Countless rays of divine light shot out from the cracks, transforming into numerous experts. There were experts from various races, primordial fiend gods, demon gods, primordial beasts, and so on. A large number of experts frantically fled from the pagoda. Damn it! How dare you break my supreme treasure? Die! Paragon of Judgment roared. The annihilation divine bow in his hand was instantly drawn, and a black and white divine arrow appeared on the bow. On the divine arrow, the pure yin and yang chi had faintly condensed into a black and a white divine dragon coiled around the arrow. Whoosh! This arrow was shot out without any pause. Roar! The battle arrow shot straight towards Di Shitian, and a strong murderous intent rushed towards him. Two divine dragons, one yin and one yang, came out of the arrow, head to tail, and turned into a pair of black and white dragon-shaped scissors that cut towards Di Shitian. Third step, Sun and Moon Revolution. Di Shitian spat out coldly. As soon as his voice fell, his left foot stepped out again. Two huge sun and moon stars formed under his feet, exuding the power of the sun and moon. The two yin and yang merged and spun rapidly, turning into a domineering Taiji diagram. As it spun, it obliterated all living things. 4 trampling 8 desolation destruction. Another cold shout rang out. At the same time, his right foot stepped out, and a boundless image appeared under his feet. Countless ancient scrolls appeared under his feet. It was like an ancient continent, exuding a desolate aura. The first step was aimed at the divine arrow of annihilation, and the second step was aimed at Paragon of Judgment's head. Rumble. The battle techniques that Sakura had originally created were already inconceivably supreme battle techniques. As he cultivated them, their might would also increase unceasingly. Now that he had reached the Hegemon's sovereign realm, his might had reached an unimaginable level. Each and every move he executed contained a towering destructive might. When he executed the Emperor War Heaven steps, each and every step he took would be accompanied by a boundless battle intent. His battle intent would stack up unceasingly, causing the might of his attacks to increase exponentially. Both of his feet stepped out. Immediately, the divine arrow of annihilation and the 2 divine dragons were destroyed by the millstone of sun and moon. His other foot stomped down on the Paragon of Judgment's supreme tower, which was right above the Paragon of Judgment's head. This caused several terrifying cracks to appear on the pagoda once again. Damn it, no taboos. Divine Fist of Annihilation. Paragon of Judgment roared. Without any hesitation, a pitch-black glove appeared on his right hand. Countless laws intertwined with each other on the glove, causing it to shine with a light. An overbearing will that seemed capable of judging the heavens and earth, capable of annihilating all living things, flashed continuously. Rumble. At the same time, the aura on his body suddenly increased tenfold. His domineering aura surged through the void. Countless chains of laws danced around him. His strength increased tenfold in an instant. He punched out. Under the punch, the void shattered, forming a terrifying black hole. It pierced through heaven and earth, annihilating everything in its path as it blasted towards Di Shitian. Fifth step, shattering heaven and earth. At the same time, Di Shitian took another step out. The image of the entire purple-gold continent appeared under his feet. It was like an immortal city, bringing with it boundless heavenly might. Rumble. However, the punch was destroyed by Paragon of Judgment's sudden increase in strength. It landed heavily on the image of heaven and earth. Under the might of the divine fist of annihilation, the entire world was destroyed inch by inch. It pierced through heaven and earth and landed on Di Shitian's chest. Bang! Around him, the 13 immortal divine rings shattered at the same time. The domineering power of annihilation punched a big hole in his imperial robe. His chest was torn open, and purple-gold imperial blood dripped down. However, his blood-stained chest was filled with a suffocating murderous aura. His entire imperial body was stopped by this punch. He did not even take half a step back. A trace of blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. If I say I want to stomp you to death, I won't kill you with my bare hands. 6 steps of ghosts and gods. Indra coldly spat out a sentence. The might of each step of the Emperor Heaven War steps kept stacking up. With this step, an endless netherworld appeared beneath his feet. Countless ghosts and gods worshipped him in fear. The boundless power of ghosts and gods filled every inch of heaven and earth. This step even contained the terrifying characteristic of the ghosts and gods that could traverse through the void void. It collided with the second divine fist of annihilation. Rumble. This step and the divine fist of annihilation were annihilated at the same time. Countless ghosts and gods were destroyed. The divine light on Paragon of Judgment's fist dimmed and was pushed back. Impossible. Paragon of Judgment roared, his heart thumping wildly. He had directly used the Zero Taboo secret technique to increase his combat power by tenfold. Every single attack he launched was no weaker than any Peak Sovereign's attack. In fact, His attacks might even surpass the destructive power of any peak sovereign. However, a single stomp of his foot was enough to send him flying. His belief of being invincible began to shake. Judgment, today, only one of us will survive. 7 steps of soldier's grave. Di Shitien's black hair danced wildly behind his head. He did not care about his injuries at all. Instead, he took another step that shocked the heavens and made ghosts and gods weep. As he took another step, countless mournful cries could be heard. Among the mournful cries were the hum of sabers, swords, and spears. They intertwined to form a soul-stirring melody. A huge graveyard appeared beneath his feet. This graveyard was not a tomb. Instead, it was filled with countless powerful weapons. There were sabers, swords, spears, hammers, axes, and so on. There were so many of them that it was impossible to count them all. All of them let out mournful cries as they were stabbed into the ground. They were all abandoned. This was the soldier's grave. Every single one of these weapons emitted an aura that was at least Earth-grade. There were also countless heaven-grade weapons. The killing intent of countless weapons filled the graveyard. 10 times amplification. 0 taboo. Annihilation divine fist. Break. 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 Paragon of Judgment roared. It was as if he was trying to boost his confidence. His fist carried an indomitable aura as it smashed toward Di Shitien. He wanted to crush anything that stood in his way. Annihilate everything. Rumble. The power of the extreme Emperor Warring Heaven Steps was completely unleashed. The sharp power of the soldier's grave collided with the divine fist. Almost immediately, the void around the two shattered. The entire continent seemed to be shaking. After only a few breaths of time, under the cutting of countless combat weapons, the gloves on his fists were destroyed inch by inch. Then, the entire arm turned into dust at a speed visible to the naked eye. It turned into dust. Bang bang bang. Paragon of Judgment's body fell violently. He smashed into the blood-red ground like a meteor, creating a huge crater. Shifter Emperor, I will kill you. The Paragon of Judgment rushed out from the ground with disheveled hair. His face was twisted with malevolence, but he didn't rush towards Sakura. Instead, he rushed towards an expert who had escaped from the Supreme Judgment Pagoda. Like a wild beast, he slammed into the body of that expert, smashing him into pieces and killing him on the spot. Then, his broken right arm quickly regrew. His entire body shuttled through the void at lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the barrier that separated the Scarlet Continent from the Chaos Space. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1255. Those with tickets, please help me up. Paragon of Judgment is trying to escape. Almost instantly, the same thought flashed through the minds of all the cultivators and sovereigns who witnessed this scene. The series of intense battles just now had reached an extreme degree of excitement. Every moment, every collision made all the cultivators feel as if their hearts were unable to withstand the stimulation. Starting from the moment Sakura ascended to the sovereign realm, to the moment when he directly severed his 3 lifetimes and reversed his fate. Then, Paragon of Judgment took out the divine arrow of doomsday, pierced through the bell of heavenly samsara, and killed Dark. Then, Di Shitien ascended to the sovereign level. These were already enough to make them feel overwhelmed. They didn't even dare to breathe. They didn't even dare to blink, for fear of missing a single scene and regretting it for the rest of their lives. Then, Di Shitien ascended to the sovereign level and unleashed his overwhelming battle prowess. It was as if he was a supreme emperor who stood above the heavens and the primal chaos. He stomped down on Paragon of Judgment with his most powerful stance and invincible conviction. He made a domineering declaration that he would trample him to death. Every step he took shattered the void and shook the hearts of even the sovereigns. Every step he took was filled with the most dazzling divine light. He didn't use any external force. Step after step, he crushed Paragon of Judgment's will until he was on the verge of collapse. He couldn't resist, and all means were crushed. Even his arms were crushed to dust. Even a Paragon's will was crushed. Such a scene was so shocking that the spectators' eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Paragon of Judgment did something even more unexpected. He killed a prisoner, dispelled the laws of the death domain, and tried to escape. This was already an act of escape. However, in the eyes of most cultivators, this wasn't cowardice, but wisdom. Once one's will was shattered, death was inevitable. Between life and death, there was no doubt that choosing the path of survival was the wisest. However, everyone was shocked by the Yarrow Emperor's strength. He had just ascended to the sovereign level, but he was able to suppress a late-stage paragon. This level of cultivation was too terrifying. It was as if the moment he broke through, he would reach an even higher realm. Beast Emperor, I won't let you go. Even if I can't kill you by myself, the 9 of us ancient supremes will attack at the same time. We'll use our strongest trump cards to suppress you. Reputation, HMPH, what's the point of reputation? The key is who lives and who dies. A thought flashed through Judgment Supremacy's mind when he saw the barrier. However, just as he was about to break through the air, a foot suddenly appeared above his head, accompanied by a cold laugh. You want to escape? Do you think you can escape? Stay here obediently and let me trample you to death. As he spoke, a large foot stomped down on his head. You've gone too far. The Paragon of Judgment was so angry that his face turned red, and he almost coughed up blood. With a roar of rage, he sent the cracked Paragon pagoda flying toward Di Shetien. Resplendent divine light radiated from the pagoda, and terrifying fluctuations of power emanated from it. Destructive auras violently collided with each other, and a mournful wail rang out from the tower. Self-destruct. Judgment Supremacy's face contorted with malice as he roared. He didn't hesitate to self-destruct a peak-grade innate supreme treasure. Let me trample you to death. 8 steps of primal chaos destruction. Di Shetien shouted as he executed the 8th step of the Emperor Heaven battling steps. This step was even more shocking, and a boundless primal chaos world appeared beneath his feet. The primal chaos chi and the 3,000 great Taos flashed madly within it. It was no different from the primal chaos world outside. This step didn't just contain the primal chaos, it also contained the boundless power of the 3,000 great Taos. Under this foot, the Paragon of Judgment actually had the misconception that he was incomparably tiny. When he stared at Sakra, it was as though he was looking at an ancient divinity. His heart and soul felt a tremendous pressure, as though he could see chains of laws shuttling back and forth unceasingly, weaving into a terrifying heavenly net that enveloped him. Explode. Rumble. The powerful Paragon of Judgment pagoda shone with boundless divine light. Countless cracks appeared on the pagoda, densely distributed across every inch of the pagoda. With a loud boom, the entire pagoda exploded. Countless fragments swept towards the primal chaos world, trying to tear it apart. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Each of those fragments was powerful enough to cut open a terrifying crack in the primal chaos, showing signs of great destruction as they opened up a vast world. But in the blink of an eye, they were completely annihilated, forming a terrifying tide of chaos. Any attack that was sucked in not only failed to destroy the primal chaos, but also caused the primal chaos to erupt even more domineering and terrifying. It could devour all attacks. It didn't stop him in the slightest. He stepped on the Paragon of Judgment's head. The moment his head was stepped on, there was only one thought in the Paragon of Judgment's mind: I've been stepped on. Bang! Before the eyes of the many people in the outside world, Judge's body was stomped to the point of exploding on the spot. Countless pieces of flesh and blood shot out in all directions. The Paragon of Judgment, unexpectedly, it was stomped to pieces. If one didn't witness this scene with their own eyes, no one would believe it. Who would believe that a paragon would be crushed to pieces, and in such a humiliating manner? Regardless of whether they believed it or not, they would most likely be treated as a lunatic. Moreover, none of the pieces of flesh managed to escape. They were immediately sucked in by the primal chaos world beneath their feet, and separated into different parts of the primal chaos. Celestial Emperor's chariot, vast furnace, refined judgment. Di Shetien roared, and the Celestial Emperor's chariot appeared before him. The Emperor's body landed on the chariot, and the primal chaos world beneath his feet was sent into the Celestial Emperor's furnace. Rumble. The Celestial Emperor's furnace was activated, and countless purple flames rose. Shifter Emperor, you bastard, you really want to refine me? I'm the primordial paragon, you can't refine me. Within the furnace, an angry roar shot up to the sky. Judgment Battle Spear, steal the Judgment Origin. Di Shitian ignored the cries beneath his feet, and directly inserted the Judgment Battle Spear into the Celestial Emperor's furnace. Inside his body, the demon refining cauldron merged with the Celestial Emperor's furnace. The two revolved, and like two terrifying millstones, they continuously crushed the paragon of judgment. What is this? How can you steal my origin? Shifter Emperor, you will die a horrible death. I will wait for you on the road ahead. The paragon of judgment screamed in fear. The paragon of judgment, who was cut into countless pieces, could not reassemble, and was destroyed one by one. The Judgment Battle Spear was even more frenzied as it devoured the pure Judgment Origin. On the Battle Spear, countless dazzling lights were intertwined. At the same time, a vast amount of Emperor's draconic essence poured out from the Celestial Emperor's furnace, and into the Emperor's body. It quickly rushed into the newly opened 9 apertures. Demonic Cauldron Refinement, full aperture. At this moment, Di Shitian was not stingy at all. The remaining 8 demonic cauldrons in his body shattered at the same time, and a vast amount of energy rushed out like a tidal wave, filling every inch of his body. The 13 demon veins all glowed, shining with dazzling light. Strands of Ultimate Emperor's great Tao condensed into divine chains, and merged into the Emperor's body. Throughout his entire body, Big Brother, hurry and save the prison head. Although the prison head is annoying, I don't want to see him die. Di Shitian was firmly pressed against the chariot, and the Emperor's body did not move an inch. Huana turned into a stream of light and entered his body, crying out sorrowfully in his mind. Clang! The bell of heavenly samsara appeared in front of him, and the hole on it was still clearly visible. A strong aura of decay seemed to be continuously corroding the ancient bell. There was no trace of Dark's aura left inside. A trace of grief flashed in his deep eyes, and a thick sense of death reverberated in his heart. In his mind, traces of memories with Dark appeared, and the grief of the death of a loved one filled every inch of his body. Imperial Decree, Space-Time Reversal. Sakura took a deep breath as a determined look flashed across his eyes. Without any hesitation, he uttered an Emperor's word with a supreme Emperor's might. Rumble. Suddenly, the space-time in front of him distorted at an astonishing speed, and a bizarre scene appeared vaguely. It was as if space-time was reversing. Countless scenes flashed before his eyes. However, as soon as the space-time reversal appeared, a terrifying aura of decay appeared out of nowhere, and the reversed space-time exploded and collapsed. Fart. Blood spurted out of his mouth as he was hit by the space-time backlash. His originally pitch-black hair once again turned snow-white at an astonishing speed, and a vicissitude aura spread out from his Emperor body. The aura of decay can destroy heaven and earth. Even space-time can't be reversed. Trial, how vicious of you, Di Shitian said coldly, and he felt a chill in his heart. Dark had fallen under the aura of decay, which was a terrifying aura of decay that could only be born when heaven and earth were destroyed. Any power would be contaminated by it and become decayed. Those who died under this aura would not be able to be reversed no matter how powerful the divine ability was. The fallen could be revived again. However, there was no regret. There was only pain, a pain that penetrated to the bone. As an emperor, the most important thing was to have no regrets. No matter how wrong a decision was, he had to have no regrets. No matter how bitter the wine he brewed was, he had to spit it out mouthful by mouthful. It was not wrong for Dark to come out and defend. With the Bell of Heaven's reincarnation, even if it was destroyed, Dark could still survive and buy time for himself. However, who would have thought that Trial had such a terrifying killing weapon in his hands? He could actually restrain the aura of decay so stubbornly. Dark, your heroic spirit is not far away. I will send Trial down to be buried with you. Di Shitian's heart was cold, and he muttered to himself. He looked up at the void, and suddenly, a light flashed in his mind, and a thought appeared quickly. A flash of light shot out from his eyes, and he suddenly said, "Perhaps there is still a chance. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidyen. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation." Chapter 1256. Brother Chidyen, is there any other chance? Can you revive the prison head? Huan who was disappointed at first, immediately became excited and asked hurriedly. In fact, she also knew that experts who had fallen under the power of decay could not be revived. This was the supreme law. It was difficult to reverse. However, she still held on to the slightest hope that Di Chidyen could create another miracle. Maybe, maybe not. No one can predict the result until the end. Sakra didn't make any guarantees. He only said a few words faintly. To be honest, even he didn't have the confidence to make Dark come back to life again. This time, he had fallen too thoroughly. So thoroughly that even a heaven-defying method like spacetime reversal could not save him. There was less than a 10% chance that the idea in his mind would succeed. Shifter Emperor, if you kill me today, you won't be able to escape. The other Supremes will avenge me. Under the constant pressure of the Heavenly Emperor's furnace and the demon refining cauldron, the broken body of the Paragon of Judgment was rapidly being refined. Especially the Judgment Battle Spear, which was madly devouring the Judgment origin within the body. With each breath, the spear grew weaker and weaker. On top of it, there was the Sakra's true Emperor true force, which bound every inch of the void. There was no chance for him to escape. If one could see the scene in the furnace, they would see pieces of flesh glowing with divine light being divided into countless areas. They were bound by the chaos and could not be gathered together. The flesh wriggled, forming the bodies of the Supremes of Judgment. The largest of them roared with a ferocious face, "Light, darkness, wisdom, Taishu, you must avenge me. Avenge me. My life's most precious savings are yours. Use the Shifter Emperor's blood as a sacrifice to me. Rumble." His entire body burst into flames, erupting with a mighty force that was 100 times, 1,000 times stronger. It turned into a battle sword and pierced upwards. Crack. A sharp sword cut out of the war chariot. A tiny crack appeared in the air, and a beam of profound yellow divine light shot out at an incredible speed. It tore through the air, escaped from the life and death desolate domain, and charged into the sovereign god domain. At that moment, Di Chidyen stretched out his hand to grab it back with the sky-stealing sun-swapping technique, but he was inexplicably blocked. It was a dim yellow star. This is my inner world. It contains all of my treasures. Kill the demon emperor. Otherwise, no one will be able to obtain my treasures. I placed a seal on the Star of Judgment. If you break it by force, the star will be destroyed. No one would be able to obtain any benefits from using the Shifter Emperor's blood to break the seal. I will be waiting for the Demon Emperor's arrival. A remnant voice came from the star. The Great Void Godly King, Forefather Terminator, Dream Goddess, and the other archaic sovereigns looked at each other and saw the same expression in each other's eyes. The wealth, treasures, and divine items that a supreme being of the primordial age had accumulated over countless years were absolutely inestimable. If he could obtain it, it would be no less valuable than any other treasure. Even if it was them, they would still be extremely moved. It is indeed in the hands of judgment. A strange divine light flashed through the wisdom goddess's eyes. She seemed to have sensed an unbelievable aura from the Star of Judgment, and she muttered to herself. At the same time, countless hidden lights of wisdom flickered. Demon Emperor, you murdered Judgment, as if you killed our brothers. This hatred is irreconcilable. Today is the day of your death. We will use your blood to pay tribute to Judgment. The light godly king took a step forward, his white beard fluttering in the wind. The scepter of light in his hand shone with a dazzling divine light. The dense aura of light seemed to be able to disperse all the darkness in the chaos. It was incomparably holy, as if what he said was the truth. He would always stand on the side of justice. Demon Emperor, you killed Judgment. If we let you leave, wouldn't all the cultivators in the chaos think that we, the primordial gods and primordial sovereigns, are easy to bully? Today, We must use your blood to wash away the humiliation of our sovereign god realm. The handsome young man in snow-white robes who held a folding fan in his hand slowly spat out these words. His eyes carried a faint smile that faintly contained a trace of gloomy coldness that concealed a blade within his smile. Demon Emperor, come out and fight with us. The great void godly king naturally exuded the aura of a godly king as he spoke. You primordial sovereigns really don't care about your face. Let's not talk about the alliance between you and the demon race. This time, the two of you signed a letter of challenge to each other. They have no regrets. Now that the battle is over, you want to go back on your word and attack us as a group. As supreme existences in the chaos, I am ashamed to be associated with you. The demon master stood on the war chariot and sneered disdainfully. If you want to deal with the demon emperor, you have to get through us first. You can't be so shameless as a god. The fate god raised his eyebrows and said indifferently. A great man must be ruthless. I'm not afraid to tell you that today, the 9 demon ancestors and the other primordial sovereigns have joined forces to form the Demon Emperor Slayer Alliance. Not only the Demon Emperor, you can forget about getting any benefits today. Demon Emperor, get out here. Today is the day you die. The Sky Demon ancestor sneered with the arrogance of a demon god. Bewitching, get out here. Do you think the Demon Emperor can protect you? The heart-devouring demon ancestor glared at Bewitching, as if he couldn't wait to swallow her alive. In the blink of an eye, the atmosphere in the chaos became abnormally oppressive. Unknowingly, the sovereign divine realm and the 9 demon palaces controlled by the 9 demon ancestors had already surrounded the fate god and the others. Rumble. In the life and death domain, the primordial 9 dragons pulled the celestial emperor's war chariot and stood in the void. Di Shitian suppressed the celestial emperor's furnace. Vast amounts of emperor's dragon essence poured into the celestial emperor's body like a tide, surging into the 9 newly opened apertures around his body. Within those apertures, there seemed to be mysterious divine embryos that were being nurtured, filled with chaos yuan qi. The 8 demonic cauldrons that he had obtained from Bewitching and the vast amount of energy from Paragon Judgment could be seen. Immediately, the 9 apertures were filled to the brim with energy at an alarming rate. At the same time, the divine chains of the Supreme Emperor's great Tao in his body continued to condense from his fate horoscope and imprint themselves into his flesh and blood. Every time a new divine chain was condensed, his imperial body grew stronger. The number of divine chains of the Supreme Emperor's great Tao in his body had reached close to 60,000, and this number was still increasing. His accumulations were simply too vast. Once he broke through, all of his previous accumulations would explode. In one fell swoop, his cultivation realm had broken through to the late-stage sovereign realm. Otherwise, if he'd only been in the early-stage sovereign realm, he wouldn't have been able to stomp Paragon Judgment to death with the ultimate Emperor War Sky Steps. In the face of the combined might of the Primeval Autarchs and the 9 demon ancestors, Di Shitian wasn't angry at all. Instead, he smiled. His snow-white hair, which had suffered a backlash from reversing time and space, fluttered wildly behind his head. He exuded boundless vicissitudes of life and a monstrous imperial aura that swept across all of the Primeval Autarchs. Good. Very good. How could the death of a judge be enough to quench the flames of anger in my heart? If you want my life, then come and take it with your own hands. Kill. Rumble. Roar. 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 The 9 Primeval dragons let out earth-shattering roars at the same time. Dazzling divine light burst forth as they pulled the Celestial Emperor's chariot forward, charging straight into the chaos outside with a ferocious momentum. This scene sent chills down the spines of the cultivators watching from outside. They were so frightened that their souls almost jumped out of their bodies. Let's go. This is going to be a terrifying battlefield for sovereigns. If we get sucked into it, we'll all be ground to dust. This is too terrifying. Even the Paragon Judgment, who stood at the pinnacle of the chaos, has fallen. This is too terrifying. Could it be that a calamity is really coming? Run, run. 3 sovereigns, monster emperors, 8 Primeval Autarchs, and 9 demon ancestors. Heavens, this is the gathering of the most powerful experts in the entire chaos. If this war breaks out, the chaos will be turned upside down. Almost on the spot, all the cultivators who came to watch the battle used their most powerful escape techniques without any hesitation. They didn't even dare to look back. They were afraid that if they were even a step slower, they'd be swept into the battlefield and crushed to dust. Rumble, 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 rumble. At this moment, a mournful roar echoed throughout the chaos from the Celestial Emperor's chariot. Avenge me! The primal chaos erupted. Almost at the same time, countless streams of primal chaos chi violently tumbled. As they tumbled, they were swept away in a frenzy. Waves of terrifying cries accompanied by the sound of the wind spread to countless worlds. The same scene appeared in the purple gold continent, the demonic god continent, and so on. In an instant, the sky above the two continents turned the color of blood. Whoosh! A rain of blood fell from the sky, accompanied by terrifying sounds of thunder. In an instant, all living beings could sense the will of death spreading through the world. It was as if heaven and earth were mourning, as if they were sending off a supreme existence. Sending him off on his final journey. Crack! On the violet gold continent, in front of the sky-split tower, a burly man wrapped in pitch-black chains stood tall. He carried a pitch-black coffin on his back. The lid of the coffin suddenly opened, revealing a pair of black eyes that resembled black stars. He looked into the sky and muttered to himself, "Heaven and earth mourn. A rain of blood buries a body. A sovereign has fallen. So it's judgment." With that, the coffin lid closed again, as if he didn't care too much about it. A primordial sovereign has fallen. Interesting. This is a sign of an impending calamity. At this moment, in the endless void of the Zijin continent, there was a crystal-like heavenly coffin that was constantly flickering with mysterious runes. A heavenly lady, whose appearance could not be seen clearly, was quietly lying in the coffin. A pure white palace dress covered her entire body. However, the position of her right leg was empty. An inexplicable voice came from the coffin. In the netherworld, in a mysterious tomb, there seemed to be a pair of majestic eyes sweeping across the endless chaos. In the southern barbarian lands, a crack appeared in the divine tomb, and there seemed to be a purple figure looking up at the sky. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chijien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1257. That figure seemed to be illusory, but it also seemed to be real. As it looked up at the sky, it could be seen that there were 9 strange heavenly coffins below it. In the center of the heavenly coffins, there was an even more mysterious heavenly coffin. There were 10 of them, and the one in the middle flickered with a mysterious light from time to time. A heavenly pillar of the great path that connected heaven and earth enveloped it. In the 9 heavenly coffins around it, 8 of them already had 8 beautiful figures lying in them. Upon closer inspection, one could clearly see familiar figures inside. Peacock, who was the deputy commander of a legion in the demon court, the little girl who brought Little White back to the southern barbarian lands, Yu Linglong of Linglong Celestial Island, and Princess Chuyun, who was extremely persistent in wanting to capture Di Shitian as her pet, and so on. The other figures could be said to be a rare top talent in the world. The figure in each heavenly coffin was operating a cultivation method, and the cultivation method that each figure cultivated was different. But they were all supreme cultivation methods of the great path of time. There was only one heavenly coffin that was incomplete. And that purple figure appeared in the sky above the tomb of the god of sin. There seemed to be endless time flowing in its eyes, and it was gorgeous and astonishing. A Dominator rank expert has actually fallen at this moment. This has never happened since the birth of the chaos, and it actually happened at this time. It seems that the information from the tomb of the god of sin is not false. Every chaos has a catastrophe. When the catastrophe comes, even the chaos may be shattered. After it is shattered, it may be a creation, or it may be doomsday. I don't know how far the one I chose has gone. The purple figure muttered mysterious words to itself and sighed. It seems that it is time to call back the last doppelganger. After so many years, I don't know how father and sister have been. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, the figure suddenly disappeared, and the tomb of the god of sin closed completely. Once again, a hidden aura spread out. On the purple-gold continent, in an unknown valley, there was also a vast tomb of the god of sin standing secretly. In the tomb of the god of sin, a slender figure stood quietly in a heavenly pillar of the great path. On his shoulder, an ancient lamp emitted a dazzling divine radiance. The young man lowered his head and looked at the ancient lamp on his shoulder. Looking at the increasing divine brilliance in the lamp, a bright smile bloomed on his face. He muttered to himself, "I will do my best to follow in your footsteps." Cries could be heard in the rain of blood. The will of grief filled every inch of the void in the chaos world. Countless living beings were shocked. They all understood in their hearts that there must be a world-shaking supreme expert who had fallen. This was a phenomenon that would never occur when a peerless expert fell. At most, it would affect a small region, but this affected the entire primal chaos. It was completely covered. The thoughts of countless cultivators were running through their minds. At this moment, along with the rain of blood, the faces of the ancient supremes changed greatly. "Judgment has really fallen," the dark goddess muttered. When judgment was suppressed by Defy in the war chariot, almost all the supremes knew very well that judgment would not be able to escape this time. He would not be able to escape the tragic fate of death. However, witnessing this scene with their own eyes was still a huge pressure. "Great Void God King, Radiant God King, the 9 of us will hold back the 3 Fate Sovereigns. You should quickly kill the Demon Emperor and let him continue to grow. The one who fell today is judgment, but the ones who will fall tomorrow might be us." Lifeless demon ancestor shouted with a cold expression. "That's right. Kill." Although forefather Terminator looked like a child, he had a cold expression as he spat out a cold murderous voice. "Who's afraid of who? The 9 of you. After the primordial war, this seat has long wanted to find you and teach you a lesson. This time, I will beat you until your mothers can't recognize you." The demon master roared furiously. A pitch-black glove appeared in his hand. When he wore it, it glowed with a mysterious color. Countless demons and demon gods were roaring in anger. The demon race has never feared war. So what if you are supremes? Supreme God Realm, do you dare to fight? The Light of Dawn declared war against the ancient immortal artifact of the Paragon God Realm. After witnessing Defy kill Judgment, the demons of the demon court were so excited that their blood boiled. Their emperor had become a ruler that no demon race member had ever stepped into before. He had become the true ancestor of all demons in name. Every one of them was filled with fighting spirit. They let out loud battle cries as they declared war against the Supreme God Realm. "Wisdom, take control of the Supreme God Realm. Let the demon race know the power of our Supreme God Realm's most ancient artifact." The Great Void God King said to the Wisdom Goddess. The Wisdom Goddess nodded in agreement. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 7 figures instantly flew out of the Supreme God Realm and surrounded Defy, who had charged out of the Death Domain. "Demon Emperor, you should be proud that you can make the 7 of us attack at the same time. You can also personally witness the strongest trump card that we primordial godfiends have never used in countless years. You may die honorably." The Great Void God King was like a real God King that had walked out from ancient times. Every step he took in the chaos was filled with dazzling divine light. He exuded a majestic aura and swept his cold gaze over Defy as if he was looking at his subject. "There's no need to say more. Kill." Defy stepped on the war chariot. With a twist of his wrist, the tiger soul behind him let out a deafening roar. It drew out a dazzling arc of light. Fierce fighting spirit swept out like a tidal wave, piercing through the chaos. The battle was on the verge of breaking out. The purple firmament god-slaying cannon in the demon court shot out a terrifying will that could kill gods and demons. The crossbows in the Supreme God Realm were also fully drawn. Whoosh. However, at this moment, just as this earth-shattering battle that would shock the chaos and be recorded in the annals of history was about to break out, suddenly, the entire chaos was filled with the sound of flowing water. A terrifying filtering force spread out in all directions. The chaos gas that was originally in a gaseous state was transforming at a speed visible to the naked eye. It turned into a liquid and rapidly transformed into an ocean. It was filled with destructive power that filled every inch of the chaos. At this moment, it was as if a giant that had been sleeping for countless years had suddenly awakened and let out a roar. An unimaginable annihilation gas filled every inch of the void. It felt as if any movement under this kind of aura would instantly trigger the most violent and terrifying attack. It would turn one's body into dust. The chaos heaven and earth was transforming into a chaos ocean at an astonishing speed. Light. Endless light bloomed in the chaos ocean without any light. It covered the sky and filled every inch of the chaos heaven and earth, illuminating the entire chaos heaven and earth. Everything in the chaos heaven and earth could be seen clearly. One could clearly see that there were two huge continents in the chaos ocean. One was shrouded in a purple-gold divine radiance, while the other was shrouded in a black radiance. They were facing each other from a distance, but it was unknown how far apart they were. Tide. This is the annihilation tide. Isn't the annihilation tide supposed to come in a few decades, or close to 100 years? Why would it appear at this time? Why would it appear so early? Damn it, I didn't expect that brat, the Shifter Emperor, to escape this calamity. The fallen demon ancestor let out an angry roar. He stared at the chaos heaven and earth that was rapidly transforming into an ocean. The anger in his heart could not be quelled. However, he did not dare to start a battle at this moment. The annihilation tide had just begun. The biggest characteristic was that if they were to start a battle at this moment, it would immediately attract the annihilation tide's attention. The entire annihilation tide's power would target them and crush them crazily. At that time, what they would have to face was none other than the terrifying destructive power of the entire chaos heaven and earth. Even a hegemon would suffer a near-fatal blow. The fall of Judgment Sovereign caused the annihilation tide to arrive early. I didn't expect something like this to happen. The lifeless demon ancestor glanced at Di Shitian meaningfully. He gradually retracted his gaze. He said, "Let's go. Let's return to the demon god continent." Rumble. The 9 demon palaces did not hesitate and returned to the demon god continent, leaving behind the heart-devouring demon ancestor's furious voice, bewitching, "I'll let you be free for a while longer. After the annihilation tide, it will be your doomsday. Shifter Emperor, I will come and take your life. Shifter Emperor, we, the primordial sovereigns, will remember this debt. After the annihilation tide, you won't have another chance like this." The radiant God King unwillingly spat out these words. "Count yourselves lucky today." Forefather Terminator could only say these words. No one dared to make a move during the annihilation tide. A great battle that shook the heavens actually vanished into nothingness just like that. The annihilation tide. It really is the annihilation tide. Could it be that your battle with Judgment Sovereign caused the annihilation tide to erupt early? The ruler of fate raised his eyes to the sky, as if he was asking the heavens a question. Not good. The annihilation tide has come early this time. It seems that another war between our purple gold continent and the demon god continent can no longer be suppressed. After the annihilation tide, the final battle will begin. We must make preparations as soon as possible. The space ruler's expression changed slightly as he spoke. HMPH, let's fight. Our purple gold continent is not the same as it was in the primordial era. With a peak existence like the Shifter Emperor, we might not necessarily fear the demon ancestor. Moreover, my daughter is about to come out of seclusion. The humans have many hidden trump cards, and the Shifter race. The demon lord's battle intent surged. As he spoke, he looked meaningfully at Di Shitian. The Shifter race was indeed a huge variable. If they had declined, it wouldn't have been a big deal. However, Di Shitian had suddenly risen, forcibly leading the Shifter race to their current heights. Add to that the Shifter race's trump cards from the primordial era, it was hard to say who would emerge victorious in this battle. Shifter Emperor, you've already become a ruler. You are truly the ancestor of all Shifter races. The annihilation tide has arrived. Will you return to the purple gold continent and prepare for battle with us? The demon lord asked Di Shitian. Return to the purple gold continent. Di Shitian replied without hesitation. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1258. The tide of annihilation had come too suddenly. All the experts were caught off guard. Every tide of annihilation was a great change in the chaotic world. Not only was it a great threat to the purple gold mainland, but it was also a great threat to the demon god continent and even the entire chaotic world. It was also a fatal threat to cultivators below the peerless rank. The chaos was like the sea, giving birth to all living things. Water could carry a boat, but it could also capsize it. The chaos gave birth to all living things, and countless living things were blessed by the chaos. But at the same time, the increase in experts also brought great pressure to the chaos. Therefore, the annihilation tide was born in the chaos. The annihilation tide was born with the mission of wiping out all cultivators below the peerless rank, and even living things, so that all living things in the chaos would know where they came from. If there was no place to hide in the chaos for such a tide, even the peerless rank would be annihilated in the violent tide. Even the supreme artifact couldn't withstand the invasion of the tide. Only the purple gold mainland, the demon god continent, and even the immortal artifact had the power to survive the tide. But the purple gold mainland and the demon god continent were born in the chaos, so the annihilation tide could still affect them, creating a huge threat. When the demon master saw Di Shitian agree so decisively, he couldn't help but laugh and nod. Good. After this annihilation tide, if you participate in the battle, how can the purple gold mainland lose? But, from the looks of it, the primordial gods and demons will join forces with the demon god continent in the battle and invade our continent. Whether it was the revenge of the trial sovereign or the face of the primordial sovereigns, this matter wouldn't end so easily. There was bound to be an earth-shattering battle to follow. But the appearance of the shifter emperor made the originally disadvantageous situation seem less one-sided. The demon court, an immortal artifact, was enough to resist several sovereigns, and Di Shitian alone could fight against at least 2 supremes without being defeated. In addition to the invisible hidden forces of the purple gold mainland, they might not be afraid of the demon god continent and the primordial gods and demons. No, this emperor won't interfere in the war, and neither will the shifter race. As long as you don't provoke us demons, we will just watch from the sidelines. Di Shitian's celestial emperor's war chariot flew past the space dominus and the fate dominus. What? The devil lord's pupils constricted as his gaze fell on Di Shitian. Aren't humans the protagonists of heaven and earth, the eternal protagonists, the noblest race? Since that's the case, it's only natural for humans to go and resist. Why should we, the demon clan, take the limelight for ourselves? Just so that they can be suppressed and annihilated again after being in the limelight? Di Shitian's tank had already entered the demon court. Along the way, he left a sentence that sounded like he was mocking himself. Return to the purple gold continent. All important ministers, enter the Lingxiao Palace for an audience. With a wave of his hand, Di Shitian led Chen Shi, Bai Hu, and the others into the demon court. The 4 heavenly gates shone with a dazzling divine radiance, isolating the demon court from the outside world and sealing it off. Suddenly, like a divine king, they shot through the air in the direction of the purple gold continent. Watching the demon court leave, the devil lord and the others fell silent. They knew very well what had caused the shifter emperors and the entire shifter race's attitude today. It's a pity that the humans betrayed us back then, and the shifter race's hearts were completely bitterly disappointed. As for the 3 of us, because we were keeping the 9 great demon ancestors in check, this regrettable thing happened. By the time we found out, it was already too late. In the end, it led to today's bitter consequences. As long as the humans exist, the shifter race's grudge will be difficult to erase. Difficult. 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 The space dominus sighed. His expression was somewhat gloomy. What happened back then was still an irresolvable not even now. Just as Di Shitian had said, if the shifter race were to go and defend against the demon gods, or even the entire primordial godfiend race's attacks and invasions, were they going to let the humans stab them in the back again, step on them a few more times, and toss them aside like trash? Once bitten, twice shy. As long as they had intelligence, how could they be like moths to a flame? Putting himself in their shoes, the Devil Lord knew that he didn't have such feelings. Things will cross that bridge when they come to it. Some things have to be resolved in the end. The Shifter Emperor is right. Since the humans want to become the overlords of the world, they should be the main force in this great war. If they don't even have the courage and strength to resist an external invasion, then what right do they have to be the main characters of the world? The Fate Dominus said meaningfully, "Let's go. We will also return to the purple gold continent. The 9 divine tombs will probably all gather in this calamity. There's also the battle for the 3 rolls and 1 chart. It's time for it to end." Whoosh. Without hesitation, the 3 sovereigns headed toward the purple gold continent. Rumble. In the entire chaos world, vast amounts of chaos chi turned into seawater. However, this seawater was even more terrifying than chaos chi. It was formed by compressing chaos chi 100 times, or even 1,000 times. Every drop weighed more than 1,000 kilograms. Any cultivator below the peerless realm who came into contact with it would immediately be corroded to the point that not even their bones would be left. The scale of the chaos sea grew larger and larger. Vaguely, there were countless undercurrents surging, creating waves. Moreover, as time passed, these undercurrents became more and more intense. It was as if a storm was brewing. In the Chaos Sea, a large number of primordial gods and devils were rushing towards the supreme divine domain. Even if they had divine artifacts, they wouldn't be able to survive the annihilation tide. They had to enter the supreme divine domain to avoid the tide. The arrival of the annihilation tide brought about a terrifying phenomenon to the purple gold continent. In the air, a gigantic wave appeared. The entire Zijin continent was like a broken boat in the middle of a boundless ocean. A single wave was enough to capsize it. Terrifying roars were unceasingly reverberating in the air. Wave after wave surged, each wave higher than the previous one. A destructive aura immediately filled every inch of the purple gold continent's void. Countless cultivators looked at the scene in the void in shock. Tide, the annihilation tide is coming. Didn't they say that the annihilation tide would only arrive in about 100 years? Why is it suddenly appearing now? Not good. Hurry. Hurry up and move all the life forms in the myriad worlds to the purple gold continent. Once the annihilation tide comes, the myriad worlds will all crumble. Other than the purple gold continent, nothing will be left. It's said that after all these years of war in the heaven-toppling ancient painting, 10 sovereigns of the younger generation have all become peerless realm experts. They became sovereigns by stepping over countless corpses. The mortal ranking, earth ranking, and heaven ranking have all almost decided on the final list. The beauty chart has also completely decided on the final heavenly maiden. With the arrival of the annihilation tide, the competition for the 3 rankings and 1 chart will definitely end. The human clan and the demon clan are at war. Although most of them are in the heaven-toppling ancient painting, with the appearance of the annihilation tide this time, the war may also stop. Countless cultivators witnessed the strange phenomenon in the void and broke out into all sorts of discussions. In the blink of an eye, cultivators from various races rushed into the various worlds and frantically moved the living beings of every greater 1,000 worlds to the purple gold mainland. One after another, huge teleportation arrays burst forth with dazzling divine light. A large number of creatures emerged at every moment. In the well of gods and demons, countless lives spurted out like fountains to various regions of the continent. Rumble. However, just as countless lives entered the purple gold continent, in a remote area of the continent, suddenly, millions of rays of divine light burst out. In the divine light, a vast and boundless kingdom emerged out of thin air. On this kingdom, countless souls were praying, as if praising the greatness of the kingdom. A supreme pressure swept out in all directions. However, the moment this nation appeared, the entire world changed. It was as if it had been cut countless times by some kind of sharp weapon. It collapsed with a bang. It broke down into 10 divine artifacts that also exuded a powerful pressure. Rumble. At the same time, dark clouds covered the sky in the void, and the day turned into night. Countless lightning bolts leaped rapidly in the clouds. Suddenly, a sharp light soared into the sky. The pitch-black space was directly cleaved in half by the light and collapsed. What is that thing that caused such a terrifying phenomenon? Those are the 10 divine artifacts of the human clan. They are in the lost abyss. What are they doing? On the myriad gods' islands, an existence shrouded in divine light like an ancient divine king ordered, investigate at all costs what the human clan obtained in the lost abyss. Investigate. We must know the human clan's purpose. On countless bones, in a palace made of piled-up bones, an expert of the skeleton clan covered in white bone armor shouted coldly. His empty eyes seemed to be able to see through all secrets. In the giant mountain range, a giant of 100,000 feet tall, exuding a vigorous power, opened his huge eyes and swept across the void. He said in a thunderous voice, as expected, a catastrophe is coming. The human clan has been secretly searching for something all these years. It seems that they have found it. The oblivion tide is coming. I wonder if the human clan will be as brave as the Yarrow clan of yesteryear. Rumor has it that the human clan once found a divine tomb. I wonder if it's true. Almost all the races in the universe were shocked by the sudden burst of sharp light. They all sent out their spies to invade the human race to investigate the origin of that sharp sword. Meanwhile, in the demon court, countless Yarrow clan members were immersed in the joy of Di Shitien's ascension to the sovereign realm. They knew how important a sovereign realm was to the entire Yarrow clan. Unlike the excitement of the Yarrow clan members, in the cloudy palace of the Golden Arches, Di Shitien sat on the throne. Chen Shi, Su Tianxiang, Katomi, and Mai Xin sat on either side of him. Kong Wu stood in front of the palace, acting as a competent general. Below him, civil and military officials stood side by side. The civil officials were led by Left Minister Hu, while the military officials were led by Right Minister Mengshi. Below them, the civil officials and military officials stood according to their ranks. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1259. Those with tickets, please help me up. Congratulations, Your Majesty, for ascending to the sovereign realm and becoming the supreme demon ancestor. No one dares to disobey you, and you will enjoy eternal blessings and longevity. Looking at Sakura, who was sitting on the numinous sky throne, under the leadership of Old Fox and Meng Shi, the ministers didn't hesitate at all. They simultaneously kowtowed towards him in excitement and congratulated him. Their voices reverberated in the hall. It was overflowing with a festive vibe. Rise, everyone. Di Shitian waved his imperial robe, and there were no energy fluctuations at all. His words were the law, and the ministers all stood up involuntarily under an invisible force. Even the most powerful experts would not have the ability to resist. This kind of power made the ministers in the hall even more reverent and respectful. They had a broader vision for the future of the demon race. Pass on this emperor's imperial edict. After returning to the purple gold mainland, I will hold a banquet for all the ministers to celebrate and bless the world. Di Shitian's every word was overflowing with boundless pressure. Every word was like the law of the heavenly Tao. He controlled the world and ruled over everything. The aura of a ruler was not concealed at all. Your Majesty is wise. The ministers all agreed. This time, taking advantage of his breakthrough to the sovereign realm and holding a banquet for heroes, not only could he bless the entire demon court, but he could also intimidate the various races of the purple gold mainland and even the human race. This was a declaration to all the races that the demon race, who had dominated the continent in ancient times, had returned. At this time, Old Fox took a step forward and stood in the middle of the hall. He said respectfully, Your Majesty, may I be so bold as to ask if Your Majesty is preparing to face the upcoming demon god on your return to the purple gold mainland? As soon as he said this, the ministers all pricked up their ears and listened attentively. Oh, tell me what you think. How could Di Shitian not understand the meaning behind his words? Although he had already made a decision in his heart, he did not say it out loud. He wanted to see what the ministers in the hall thought. "I don't think we should fight." Whose eyes revealed a trace of hatred. He had grown up in the demon race's mystic realm and knew about the great changes in the ancient times. He said in a deep voice, "Early in the ancient times, when the human race rebelled and the 100 races did nothing, the demon race had already repaid all the living beings on the Purple Goldland and even the entire Purple Goldland that gave birth to us. I will repay you with the flesh and blood of the monster race." If it weren't for His Majesty's sudden appearance, the demon race would have been annihilated. Our demon clan does not owe the Purple Gold continent anything. Any race. We, the demon race, have not let down the heavens and earth, have not let down the living beings of the Purple Gold continent. It was the living beings who let us down. We didn't do anything wrong. In this great war, the humankind should taste the bitter wine brewed by themselves. Let's return to the Purple Gold continent and bring back all the demons. No one can blame us. These words could be said to be extremely extreme. Everyone could clearly feel the resentment in his words. However, his words were not without logic. What he said was the truth. Although the demon race was born and nurtured by the heavens and earth, in the ancient war, 90% of the demon race's battle strength had fallen. The number of casualties was uncountable. It was enough to repay the debt. Since they did not owe them anything, no one could say anything about whether they should help or not. In the hall, many of the ministers could not help but nod. Obviously, they agreed with his words. Di Shitian nodded slightly and turned to look at Mengshi. He said, "Right, Chief Minister, what do you think?" Mengshi stepped forward calmly with a calm expression. He said, "I think that we should not fight." "We must fight." "Oh, tell me about it." Sakra nodded his head with interest, hinting for him to continue speaking. "Left Chief Minister, you are right. That is also why I think that we should not fight. Because the demon race does not owe the Purple Gold Land anything. However, I also think that the demon race should not miss out on this war." Mengshi said confidently, "The demon race and the demon god continent have an irreconcilable blood feud. This blood feud is higher than the mountains and deeper than the oceans. We must avenge our seniors. Fight, we must fight. However, we just have to choose the right time to fight. I think that the demon race should fight after the humans have resisted the demon gods. We should act recklessly." "Good. Very good." Di Shitian nodded slightly. He said, "Left Chief Minister, you are right. Right Chief Minister, you are also right. I have my own decision. Today, I have become a ruler. Left and right Chief Ministers, your fate will be promoted to ancient demon gods. Go to the heavenly stairs. I hope that during the war, your cultivation can break through to ancient demon gods. Personally take revenge. In the upcoming war, if they did not have the battle strength of ancient demon gods, once they participated, it would be difficult to guarantee their own safety. Thank you, Your Majesty." Hu and Mengshi were overjoyed when they heard this and quickly thanked him. They still had a long time before they could become ancient demon gods. Now that Di Shitian had made a promise, it was obvious that he planned to use the demon court's huge resources to forcefully nurture them into ancient demon gods. This kind of favor was something that no one in the entire demon court could enjoy. All right, return to your posts and prepare to return to the Purple Gold Land. Once you return, send envoys to various places and send all the scattered demon race citizens back to the demon court. If you are not willing to return, there is no need to force it. Go and prepare." Di Shitian waved his hand and dismissed the court. The officials left. Di Shitian returned to the Jade Pool with Chen Shi and the other three. The demon court had been promoted to an immortal artifact. Its power was many times stronger than before, and its speed was 10 times, 100 times faster. The 4 heavenly gates had received supreme benefits when the demon court was promoted. Every heavenly gate had been promoted to a carnate cardinal treasure, and a superior grade carnate cardinal treasure at that. Once the demon court reached its peak, they would also be promoted. The other treasures that had been integrated were almost the same. The demon court shuttled toward the Purple Gold Land at an astonishing speed. This time, Shitian wanted to descend on the continent as a sovereign. Although the tides of annihilation had begun, it was still in a state of accumulation. It was at the boundary of a storm, and before it completely erupted, there was still a short period of buffer time. This period of time might be 1 year, or 2 years, but it would definitely not exceed 3 years. The purple gold land was still urgently moving large numbers of living beings. On the boundless continent, there was an endless stream of living beings being digested. Cultivators of various races were constantly busy. At this moment, a vast and boundless pressure that was like a supreme great Tao law suddenly crushed down from the void of the purple gold land like a tide. In an instant, almost all the cultivators and living beings could not help but feel as if there was a terrifying mountain pressing down on them. The surrounding heaven and earth, as well as the void, seemed to be imprisoned on the spot. They could only look at the void, as if they could not move at all. Even unparalleled experts were greatly restrained. Rumble. The void shook. Immediately, one could see waves of incredible phenomena emerging one after another. Countless fairies danced gracefully, emitting the aura of flying immortals. All kinds of musical instruments played together, producing heavenly music that contained the principles of heaven and earth. There were hellish demonic realms, fiend gods dancing, and fairies descending to the mortal world. There were spiritual beasts and immortal birds. Mountains of white bones. Seas of blood surged into the sky. There were swaying green lotuses, and golden flowers falling. There were the brilliance of the sun and moon, and so on. All kinds of strange phenomena flashed in the void. Among these strange phenomena, countless auspicious clouds were born. Among the auspicious clouds, a vast ancient city suddenly stood tall, faintly discernible. Each of the 4 heavenly gates emitted a supreme pressure that was like heaven and earth. It was filled with a supreme aura. As soon as the ancient city appeared, a monstrous emperor's might crushed every living being on the entire continent like a tide. Good. What a terrifying pressure. I feel like I'm going to die, like an ant. I have the urge to worship the ancient city. There's an ancient emperor inside. I want to worship him. This is the demon court of the demon clan. I recognize those 4 heavenly gates. There's no mistake. There's only one ancient city with 4 heavenly gates as its walls. There's no mistake. Didn't the demon emperor leave with the demon court? He actually returned at this time. What a terrifying pressure. I've never felt it even from an unparalleled expert. Just how terrifying is this demon court? This demon court is even more powerful than when it left back then. The aura on it is even more ancient. I can feel the immortal aura on it. This is a great existence that I have to look up to. It's unfathomable. It's as great as the purple gold continent. Could it be that it has really become an immortal artifact? In an instant, some cultivators had already recognized the origin of the demon court. However, they were shocked by endless shock. They looked again. In the sky above the demon court, Shitian sat on the throne, and the ministers followed behind him. That majesty made people not dare to look directly at him. Left minister who took a step forward, took out a scroll, opened it, and read, "The demon emperor's imperial decree. I have comprehended the great Tao in the chaos and have become a ruler. The demon court has transformed into an immortal. I hereby decree that all demons in the myriad worlds in the heavens should return to the demon court. Everyone will celebrate and bless the demons. I order the Dragon Clan, Phoenix Clan, Black Tortoise Clan, Chilean Clan, and White Tiger Clan to return to the demon court. 9 days later, there will be a banquet at the Jade Pool and amnesty for the world." Every time he read out a word, there would be a flash of purple gold divine light. It condensed into ancient demonic characters that floated in the air and did not disperse for a long time. Every single word emitted a supreme might that possessed the power to collapse the world. In the blink of an eye, the Emperor's imperial decree was condensed and floated in all directions, dissipating into the void, but it was imprinted in the souls of every living being. After countless cultivators heard it, their hearts and minds trembled violently. They were trembling non-stop. It was as if their entire bodies could not be controlled, and they knelt on the ground in horror. Every single word was capable of crushing his will. It was shocking. It was simply shocking to the entire continent. After the emperor's imperial decree was read, the entire world was still in a strange state of silence. They could only stare blankly at the ancient city in disbelief. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1260. The Demon Emperor. The Demon Emperor became a sovereign lord. How is that even possible? He might be a genius, but how could he possibly become a sovereign lord in such a short time? And without the god tomb of the gods, how could he possibly become a sovereign lord? Immortal, the Lingxiao demon court has really become an immortal weapon. What a terrifying pressure. No wonder the pressure from the ancient city alone was enough to make us unable to move. It was like we were ants. So, it's a deathless god item, one that's even stronger than a sovereign lord's. The demon emperor really is terrifying. Now that he's a sovereign lord, he's definitely the ancestor of all demons. And with the deathless god item that is the demon court and the legacy of the demon folk, no one in heaven and earth will be able to stop him. The demon folk will become deathless. As the saying goes, when a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs will ascend to the heavens. The monster race and the human race have an irreconcilable grudge. This time, the monster race has risen up. With the immortal level weapons and the unparalleled fighting strength of the Dominator level, the human race will suffer an unimaginable disaster this time. There is a real possibility that the entire race will be wiped out. As soon as the imperial decree was read out, all of the experts in the Violet Gold continent were filled with all sorts of thoughts. Some were jealous, some were angry, some were worried, some were shocked, and many others. However, the mountain-like pressure continued to weigh down on all of the cultivators present. Even the most powerful experts couldn't move on their own accord, nor did they dare to use their cultivation bases to resist. The shock in everyone's hearts grew more intense as the imperial decree was read. Looking at the vast ancient city and even Sakura, who was sitting on top of the ancient city and emitting an emperor's aura that was as mighty as hell, a kind of mentality of wanting to kneel down and worship unconsciously emerged in their hearts. And at this moment, Sakura, who was sitting upright on the throne, also made a move. He slowly swept his gaze across the entire continent. Word by word, with a powerful deterrent force, he said, "Since the ancient times, each royal family of the demon race, if you don't return, then don't ever return." His words echoed out to fill all of the heavens. He had the aura of an emperor that had never been seen before in the purple gold continent. He dared to tell the entire purple gold continent that if you don't return, then don't ever come back. He exuded the aura of the ancestor of all demons, the aura of an emperor. No one had dared to say such words since the Antiquity Age. Even at the peak of the Antiquity Age, no one had dared to say such bold words to the royal family of the Demon Clan. "Your Majesty, the Dragon Clan has returned to the Yarrow Clan." At this moment, Torch Dragon, who had returned with the Demon Court and fought for Di Shitian outside the life and death desolate domain, walked forward decisively with his eyes closed. He bowed respectfully to Di Shitian and said decisively, "All right." Di Shitian nodded. Torch Dragon was the clan leader of the dragon race and his decision represented the entire dragon race. All members of the Dragon Clan and Water Clan who are under our Dragon Clan in the myriad heavens and realms, return to the Demon Clan and move into the Demon Court as per the Demon Emperor's order. The Torch Dragon turned around and gave the order to the myriad heavens and realms. Roar, roar, roar. In the various seas, lakes, and mountains, dragon roars sounded one after another. True dragons soared into the sky one after another, carrying countless riches with them as they whizzed toward the Demon Court from all directions. There were golden dragons, azure dragons, flame dragons, water dragons, earth dragons, flood dragons, as well as countless Water Clan members. Very good. Di Shitian nodded again and looked at Torch Dragon. Under me, there are 6 royals, and each of them has its own master. Now, I have created 9 emperors. Torch Dragon, heed my call. Torch Dragon is here. Torch Dragon has contributed greatly by leading the Dragon clan back to the Yarrow clan. I hereby confer you the title of Dragon Emperor with the fate of an ancient demon god. Your monthly salary will be 120,000 firmament coins and the Dragon Emperor Palace. Di Shitian was not stingy with his rewards. He directly conferred him as one of the 9 emperors. He became the Dragon Emperor of the Yarrow clan. Thank you, Your Majesty. Torch Dragon agreed without hesitation. Roar. At this moment, a series of phoenix cries pierced through the sky. On a huge island, countless phoenixes of various sizes filled the void with auspicious lights. Thousands of auspicious lights, thousands of auspicious clouds. They were heading toward the demon court. The Phoenix clan is willing to return to the Yarrow clan. Please accept us, Your Majesty. Old Mother Phoenix also walked out and said respectfully, Good. Since you have returned, you have the bloodline of the Yarrow clan. I hereby confer you the title of Fire Emperor, one of the 9 emperors with the fate of an ancient demon god. Your monthly salary will be 120,000 firmament coins. As soon as Di Shitian finished speaking, all around the purple gold continent, countless tyrannical auras soared into the sky. His thunderous voice reverberated in the void. The Yarrow clan has never declined. The White Tiger clan has never abandoned our identity as a Yarrow clan. Since the Yarrow Emperor has summoned us, we will naturally return. The Black Tortoise clan is willing to be summoned by the Yarrow Emperor. Return to the Yarrow clan. The Kirin clan returns to the Yarrow clan. Rumble. The various clans that had separated from the Yarrow clan during the ancient era did not hesitate to respond to Di Shitian's call. They all flew up from their respective places and responded loudly. They led groups of clansmen from all directions to gather at the demon court. These were the royals of the Yarrow clan. They all returned at the same time. The void was filled with auspicious lights and auspicious lights. The momentum was incomparably vast. Everyone who saw this scene was shocked. These royals that had separated from the Yarrow clan had all been recuperating for thousands of years. Once they were reborn, they immediately displayed extremely strong foundations and strength. The ancient demon gods constantly emitted their own strange appearances. Di Shitian did not hesitate to confer the titles. The White Tiger clan's West Emperor, the Kirin clan's Earth Emperor, and the Black Tortoise clan's North Emperor and the other 9 emperors. Their statuses were high, and they were given considerable respect to the royals of the Yarrow clan. Rumble. Rumble. At this moment, in the distant void, a huge island broke through the air from a crack. The island was filled with gorgeous fairy aura. There were fairies scattering flowers and golden lotuses falling to the ground. The fog on the island dispersed. Large groups of cultivators looked in the direction of the soaring firmament demon court with shocked gazes. At first glance, there were nearly 100 million cultivators on the island. These cultivators did not cover themselves. Strong demon auras soared into the sky, completely revealing their identities. The remnants of the ancient demon clan, Linglong Celestial Island, congratulates Your Majesty on becoming a ruler. We hope Your Majesty will allow us to return to the Yarrow clan. At the front of the many cultivators of the Yarrow clan on the island, a beautiful woman in a gauze dress shouted excitedly. Permission granted. Sakura glanced at the group of demons on the island and nodded his head slightly. The cultivators on the island were indeed all from the demon race. Back then, he had also entered the island, but these demon cultivators' method of concealing their aura was extremely brilliant. He couldn't see through their original identities at all. At this moment, they had revealed their identities and hoped to return. This was the general trend. The general trend is with me. The Yarrow clan will prosper. There were no experts like the ancient demon deities on Linglong Celestial Island. They did not dare to reveal their identities to preserve the last bloodline of the Yarrow clan. The resources they received were limited, and they could not cultivate to the ancient demon deities level. However, there were also a large number of ancient heavenly demons. It was also a huge force. Not to mention these big forces, there were still a large number of scattered demons on the purple gold continent. At this moment, when they heard the call, The boiling blood in their blood made them fly out of their respective places of cultivation. Back then, before the demon court left, the demons who stayed on the continent to cultivate in the sky-toppling ancient map left the ancient map excitedly. They roared, "Long live the demon emperor," and returned to the demon court. For a moment, the Yarrow clan, which had been in decline for thousands of years, showed a scene of prosperity. Countless demons swarmed toward the Lingxiao demon court from all directions like a tide. The entire demon court showed a scene of prosperity where thousands of demons came to pay homage. The gate of heaven opened wide to welcome the demons from all directions. That kind of invisible deterrence made countless cultivators on the continent want to kneel down in front of the ancient city and pay their respects. But more than that, it made the expressions of the 100 clans in the heavens change drastically. Di Shitian's arrival was too sudden. Moreover, he carried an immortal divine artifact with him. The vast aura of a dominator swept over. As soon as he arrived, he showed the aura of a monarch that could swallow mountains and rivers. Damn it, the demon emperor actually used such a move. He wants to directly attack the reputation of the human clan and announce the strength of the Yarrow clan. He's going too far. Dao ancestor, why don't we directly split open his *T demon court? Let's see if he dares to be so arrogant. In the heaven realm, in the myriad god palace, many peerless experts of the human clan were furious and let out angry roars. No, now is not the time. The annihilation tide has already begun. Fighting with the Yarrow clan is undoubtedly damaging our strength. After the tide, it will be the time for the human clan to establish the main characters of the world, the eternal rulers. In my opinion, since the Yarrow clan is so arrogant and displayed such strength, why don't we let the Yarrow clan resist the invasion of the demon gods in the name of righteousness, just like in ancient times? The Yarrow clan was also born in the purple gold continent. If they stand by and do nothing when the world is in trouble, they will be going against the trend of the world. When we attack together, we won't be afraid that the Yarrow clan won't resist. One of the experts said with a sneer. That's right. Isn't the Yarrow emperor planning to hold a banquet to celebrate? We can join forces with the other races to congratulate him and force him to state his position. He's now the ruler, so we humans don't have to be afraid of him. There are still existences who can talk to him directly. Another expert added. A cold light shot out of his eyes. Thousands of calculations flowed through his mind. There's also the ruler of fate. Although it's rumored that the ruler of fate was transformed from the heavenly book, we also have a trump card in our hands. The child of fate, Tai Xian, can contact him and persuade him to go with us. In front of the general trend, we don't have to be afraid that the Yarrow emperor won't agree. Another voice echoed in the grand hall. However, in these ruthless calculations, it was not difficult to see that almost every peerless expert's eyes could not help but reveal a trace of undetectable fear when they saw the scene of thousands of Yarrow clan. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1261. The demon race's current momentum was simply too shocking. The demon race's hidden strength was revealed one after another, and it was so oppressive that it almost suffocated the myriad worlds. Especially the humans, who bore the brunt of it. An invisible sense of fear spread in every powerhouse's body. The immortal level artifact, the demon emperor at the sovereign level, all of these made the pressure more and more terrifying. It almost overpowered their psychological defenses. Under this fear, they were even more desperate to think of a way to scheme against the demon race again. In the eyes of the humans, only the human race was the spirit of all things in the world. They were born with the Tao body, and they were the natural protagonists of the world. Everything had to be led by the human race, and no other race was allowed to be above the human race and have power that surpassed the human race. If such a thing happened, they had to immediately think of a way to suppress and resolve it. Seeing that the demon race was thriving again, many tricks instantly appeared in an instant. Tens of thousands of demon race came, and large groups of demon race entered the demon court. The number of these demon race was extremely large, and the number of demon race members alone was close to 1 billion, not to mention the few major demon race royal families. However, the arrival of these demon race members did not pressure the demon court at all. Under the arrangements of Hu and the other ministers of the demon court, the demon race members who met the requirements and whose cultivation was at the ancient demon saint level and could live in the demon court city, or whose cultivation was below the ancient demon saint level, were all moved to the 129,600 vast plains in the demon court. Now, in the demon court main city, those who wanted to continue to stay had to reach the ancient demon saint level, and this was the boundary. Of course, those who originally lived in the main city were exceptions, and later on, this was the rule. It was set as the rule. The demon race cultivators in the 129,600 plains were not unable to enter the main city, but they could not stay for long. When the time limit was up, they had to return. The demon race from all directions came to join, and it lasted for an entire day. Rumble. When almost all the demon race had been gathered in the demon court, the ancient city suddenly shook, and the strange phenomenon that appeared outside the city dissipated. It became abnormally ancient, and it exuded a trace of immortal aura. The strong pressure was also withdrawn. The pressure exerted on countless living beings disappeared as well. With a rumble, it broke through the air into the distance. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared from the sight of all the cultivators. Whoosh! The departure of the demon court also caused countless cultivators to let out long sighs of relief at almost the same time. It was as if a huge rock had been lifted from their hearts, and their bodies relaxed. But then, countless voices of discussion rang out one after another. My goodness, this is too frightening. The demon race is truly immeasurable. In the past, they were in a state of complete decline. Who would have thought that a demon emperor would appear and reverse the situation in just a few thousand years, causing the demon race to become so prosperous? The demon emperor is the ruler and lives in an immortal god city that is comparable to our purple gold continent. It's really enviable. With the immortal grade weapon, it will be difficult for the monster race to be exterminated in the future. The human race betrayed us back then, and now it's too late for regrets and fear. That's a blood feud. The demon race's current foundation has probably surpassed that of the ancient times. I wonder how many ancient demon gods there are in the demon court. If the supreme ruler, the Yarrow Emperor, was added to the mix. TSK, the demon race is flourishing like never before. The cultivators marveled at the prosperity of the demon race. Among the 100 races in the heavens, some were happy, while others were fearful. Those who were happy were naturally those who were on good terms with the demon race, while those who were fearful were those who had previously rejected the demon race. The entire continent was filled with an indescribable pressure. At this moment, Di Shitian did not care about the situation in the outside world at all. As long as the demon race existed forever, he did not care about the flood outside. Rumble. The demon court shuttled through at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in the sky above a huge valley. The valley was filled with the sound of birds chirping and the fragrance of flowers. Hundreds of beasts were galloping and flying birds were soaring in the sky. In this peaceful scene, the flowers, plants and trees were constantly changing, revealing countless terrifying and strange restrictions. A seemingly lifelike butterfly was actually an illusion butterfly restriction formed by the condensation of countless mysterious restriction powers. A stalk of grass was a blade grass restriction. When it entered one's body, it would transform into countless sharp saws that would cut into one's flesh. From the sky, one could see it more clearly. Everywhere was filled with light, divided into 9 layers and 9 colors. Endless restrictions were derived, and the powerful pulling force made it impossible for any cultivator or object to stay in the sky above the valley. However, it could not pull the demon court. From the demon court, one could see a 24th grade red lotus. This red lotus was covered in blood-like divine radiance. Every inch of the lotus was a blood-red crystal, like an unbelievable blood-red crystal. It was so perfect that one would feel as if their entire mind would be immersed in it with just a glance. Mysterious runes kept flashing and disappearing. Each rune revealed the aura of the origin of runes. It could be seen that there were hundreds of millions of runes circulating in the runes at every moment. Edited by Lifer, Fingerfox. It carried endless power. The Forbidden Land, the Forbidden Red Lotus. Red Lotus, I've come as promised. Your sister is already here. Di Shitian sat on the throne, his gaze falling on the Forbidden Red Lotus as he spoke in a deep voice. As his voice fell, he waved his sleeves and a huge lake appeared in the void. In the lake, a 24th grade blue lotus exuded exuberant vitality. The blue lotus swayed slightly and a blue-clothed woman quickly appeared. Her expression was abnormally excited. Her gaze had already fallen on the red lotus the moment she appeared. Little sister, it's really you. I'm your big sister. Fairy Blue Lotus was ecstatic. Without even thinking about it, she let out a joyful cry and soared towards the red lotus. Shua. There was a flash of light in the red lotus, and in the blink of an eye, a 7 or 8-year-old little girl appeared on the red lotus. She wore a red dress and had long, blood-red hair behind her back. Her face was pure and innocent, and she looked like she was carved from jade. She looked like the cutest little fairy. She looked up and saw the figure pouncing over. Her eyes shined with surprise and she let out a high-pitched cry of joy. Big sister, it's really you. It's really you. I've finally seen Big Sister again. Red Lotus looks like Big Sister, she shouted and threw herself into the young girl's embrace. The two sisters tightly hugged each other. Their tears flowed down at the same time. They let out weak sobs. Big sister, where have you been all these years? I thought that Big Sister didn't want me anymore. Now that I can see Big Sister again, Red Lotus is really happy. Red Lotus's face was covered in tears as she poured out her feelings. Silly little sister, how could Big Sister not want you? It's just that after Big Sister was separated from you, I was trapped in a place and couldn't escape. It's only now that I can reunite with little sister. Blue Lotus lovingly wiped away Red Lotus's tears. The two sisters had a deep relationship. When they reunited, it was as if they had endless things to say. When they gathered together, they talked endlessly. Sakura just looked at them quietly and didn't interrupt them at all. He calmly waited above. This moment belonged only to the two sisters. After a long time, Blue Lotus seemed to remember that Di Shitian was still waiting above. She hurriedly took Red Lotus into the sky and arrived above the demon court. Blue Lotus thanks your majesty for your help. If not for your majesty, I don't know when little sister and I would be able to reunite again. I will always remember this kindness in my heart. Blue Lotus knelt down and bowed to Di Shitian with the etiquette of a court lady. Her eyes were filled with gratitude. The feelings between the twin lotuses could not be described as deep. It's fine. This is just a deal between me and you. Di Shitian did not accept their gratitude and said indifferently, Blue Lotus, Red Lotus, now that you sisters have reunited, I have already made a promise. I don't know if your decision still counts. Whether it was Blue Lotus or Red Lotus, their cultivation had already reached the half-step ruler realm. He did not want to force them. Demon Emperor. Red Lotus raised his small face to look at Sakura and said, back then, I promised you that if you could find my sister, not only would I be able to fuse the body restriction Red Lotus with your demon court, I would also be able to enter your demon court and help you guard it. You keep your promise, and I, Red Lotus, will not go back on my word. However, my sister and I have to create a new body. That's very simple. Di Shitian was already prepared for this. After hearing this, he only stretched out his right hand and pointed at the body restriction Red Lotus and creation Green Lotus. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Immediately, 9 red lotus seeds and green lotus seeds flew out from the twin lotuses. They quickly appeared in front of Di Shitian. Same roots, same source, with life as the guide, reconstruct the true body. Di Shitian slowly spat out a sentence. His voice was filled with the supreme might of a god that ruled heaven and earth. As his voice fell, waves of strange power spread out. It was like the law of heaven and earth. Words were law. A jade box opened and 6 life source seeds appeared, divided into 2 portions. Under an inviolable power, 3 of the life source seeds rushed into the 9 green lotus seeds. Immediately, the 3 life source seeds exploded at the same time, turning into the purest life essence that completely wrapped around the lotus seeds. Then, a miraculous change appeared in front of everyone. A lotus seed began to emit bursts of blue light, turning into an exquisite and beautiful head. This was the exact same appearance as fairy blue lotus. 1 seed turned into a body, 1 into a pair of hands, 1 into a pair of legs, and the last 5 seeds turned into organs. In the blink of an eye, a body that was exactly the same as her original appearance was created. It emitted a rich creation origin energy, and a strong life aura constantly reverberated. There was also the sound of a heartbeat. This was a body that was exactly the same as fairy blue lotus's origin. Almost immediately after entering it, one would be able to perfectly integrate with it without any loss of strength. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chijien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1262. A miracle. In a short period of time, he had actually reconstructed a body that could bear the full strength of a half-step ruler with just a few words. Moreover, the body was brimming with vitality. Apart from the fact that it lacked a soul, it was no different from a living being. This was practically the work of the Creator. Everything in the world was under the control of a sovereign. Amazing. Is this the divine ability of a sovereign? Red Lotus raised her small face, revealing a pure and innocent expression. She looked at the body that was formed out of thin air in amazement. Even the aura of the body was the same as her sister's. Whoosh. The transformation wasn't over yet. After the first body was formed, the 9 blood-colored lotus seeds connected with the 3 source seeds of life in a mysterious way. In an instant, the source seeds turned into endless vitality. Like the first body, the 9 blood-colored lotus seeds turned into the head, hands, feet, body, and internal organs. In the blink of an eye, a body that was 7 or 8 years old and identical to Red Lotus was formed again. Rumble. The moment the 2 bodies were created, countless black tribulation clouds gathered from all directions in the void above their heads. The intense pressure continued to grow. It was as if heaven and earth did not allow the birth of these 2 bodies and wanted to destroy them with the heavenly tribulation. Heavenly tribulation, disperse. Sakra merely raised his eyes and swept a glance at the tribulation clouds in the sky as he directly spat out a few words. His voice seemed to carry an inexplicable power and an inviolable majesty. It was as if he was exercising supreme authority. As soon as he finished speaking, the tribulation clouds dispersed at an astonishing speed. There was no resistance at all. It was as if no power could go against his words. It was as if he was the sovereign of the world. This scene caused Qinglian and Honglian's eyes to flicker with excitement. All right, now that you have merged into these 2 bodies, you will be able to merge perfectly immediately. There will be no loss of energy in your body. If you stay in my demon court, I will treat you with respect. Indra nodded and said, "Thank you, Your Majesty, for your grace." Qinglian bowed respectfully again and thanked him. "Your Majesty, you can use my and my original bodies at will. We will not resist at all when we merge with the demon court." After saying that, the 2 women walked towards the 2 bodies in the air. As soon as they touched each other, they fused together perfectly. Their bodies, which originally didn't have any soul aura, emitted a strange divine radiance. Strands of great Tao laws wove around their bodies as they opened their eyes. In an instant, the space before his eyes began to distort. The powerful pressure belonging to a half-step dominator rank flashed and disappeared. Forbidden Red Lotus, Creation Green Lotus, Twin Lotuses, Contract. After Di Shitian saw that they had adapted to their new bodies, he didn't hesitate any longer and directly said, "Rumble." As soon as he finished speaking, the great power of the Supreme Emperor was fully displayed. The Forbidden Red Lotus, which suppressed all directions in the Forbidden Land, was uprooted from the ground by a great force. Along with it, the entire Forbidden Land shook violently as if it was about to collapse with the departure of the Red Lotus. However, under the influence of a mysterious force, it was able to stop the collapse of the energy. The red lotus flew into the air and quickly merged with the creation green lotus. When they collided, the two lotus platforms were perfectly attached to each other, growing on the same lotus stem. The Tao rhymes of creation and forbidden intertwined like two extremes of yin and yang, constantly complementing each other. The burst of pressure reached a level that could shake the heavens and earth in an instant. It was like a ruler above the heavens and earth. Twin lotuses on a stem merge with the firmament. The immortal divine city is now complete. The twin lotuses that were swaying in the wind immediately fell towards the center of the ancient city. As soon as they touched the ancient city, they quickly fused with the ancient city. Boundless power of destruction and the power of creation quickly flowed through the ancient city and spread in all directions. Countless mysterious Tao runes were drawn in the ancient city. These Tao runes showed the picture of a red lotus and a green lotus. The twin lotuses began to collapse at the same time. They turned into 2,096,000,000 almost tangible runes of forbiddance and creation. Each rune of forbiddance and creation merged with another rune of creation, forming a pair of lifelike lotuses on a stalk. They were distributed throughout every inch of the demon court. Forbidden. Forbidden. Amidst the mysterious sounds, an enormous forbidden red lotus appeared out of thin air and enveloped the entire demon court. The 24th rank forbidden red lotus spun continuously, and countless restrictions spread throughout every inch of space. It was so terrifyingly powerful that it seemed capable of killing a sovereign lord. It was so terrifying that all living beings in heaven and earth felt as if they were on the verge of perishing. The forbidden red lotus was already half a step into the sovereign lord level, and now that it had merged with the demon court, it was as imperishable as the ancient city, and its power had increased tenfold, or perhaps even 100-fold. Looking at the illusory red lotus that enveloped the ancient city, there was no need to move at all. Any unparalleled expert who barged in would be killed by the countless restrictions. No attack could even get close to the four directions gate of heaven. Anything outside would be obliterated by the restrictive spells. At the same time, the green lotus of creation appeared. Under the protection of the green lotus of creation, the soldiers of the Lingxiao demon court could regrow their broken limbs under the boundless power of creation, as long as they didn't die on the spot. Rumble. At the same time, a red pillar of the great Tao appeared out of thin air, and with shocking speed, it became corporeal, reaching the peak of the great Tao. There was also a green pillar of the great Tao, which also reached the peak of the great Tao. Shockingly, it was one of the 3,000 great Taos, the grand Tao of hexing and the grand Tao of creation. With the help of the twin lotuses, it transformed. With the completion of the fusion, the red lotus outside slowly disappeared. The demon court didn't seem to have changed much, but the aura that permeated the ancient city seemed even more ancient and stable. It made one subconsciously feel like they were looking up to it at first glance. That's right. Not only has the entire demon court doubled in strength, but its defense and attack power have also become completely perfect. The current demon court can be called the immortal divine city, a supreme existence that is truly unique in the world. Tian Jiz's idea back then has been perfectly achieved. It has even surpassed it by a lot. Di Shitian could clearly feel every transformation of the demon court. He couldn't help but nod. In the past, although the demon court was powerful, it was too monotonous to rely solely on the purple firmament god-slaying cannon to attack. Now that it had obtained the forbidden red lotus, thousands of restrictions could be changed at will, and its attacks were unpredictable. Its defensive power was unparalleled in the world, and it was extremely powerful. Even if a peerless expert were to come, they would be blasted to pieces on the spot. There was no flaw at all. It was truly worthy of being called the immortal divine city. In the inner world, Huana blinked and asked curiously, "Big brother Shitian, the twin lotuses have already fused with the city. Where are we going now?" She could tell that everything Indra was doing right now was to prepare for the oblivion tide that was about to arrive. Or perhaps, it could be said that he was preparing to leave the purple gold mainland in the future and completely break away from it. "You'll find out later." Di Shitian didn't say it out loud. Boom. 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 The entire ancient city shook again, and it fused into the void. In the blink of an eye, it broke through the void and left the Forbidden Land. Only the silent Forbidden Land remained standing. Although the Forbidden Land was still filled with danger, the true core no longer existed. The Forbidden Land was no longer one of the 9 great Forbidden Lands. In a fantasy-like area in the purple gold mainland, countless flowers, plants, and trees grew with vitality. Towering ancient trees rose from the ground, covering the sky and the earth. As far as the eye could see, it was vast and boundless. A gentle breeze blew past, and in this dense mountain forest, there were actually traces of ripples, as if there were waves of water. The scenery in front of one's eyes was constantly distorted. It was as if the forest in front of one's eyes was made up of countless illusions. The strange power of space and the power of the world permeated the space between heaven and earth. If one really walked in, they would know that this vast forest was actually a strange area formed by countless worlds and planes gathered together. If one were to enter rashly, one would be lost among the countless worlds and never be able to find their way back. At this moment, the Ling Xiao demon court appeared in the void outside this strange forest without any warning. Your Majesty, this is one of the 9 great Forbidden Lands, the World Forbidden Land. In front of Di Shitian, Tao Lord Divine Crow took a step forward and explained, this Forbidden Land was born from a carnate spiritual root, the World Tree. Every once in a while, the World Tree will produce a large number of World Source Seeds. Once the World Source Seeds mature, they will scatter on their own. Without being obtained by cultivators, the World Tree will evolve into one world after another with the World Tree as the center. Because these worlds don't have life source seeds to inject a large amount of vitality into them, although they are evolving, they are not stable and can collapse at any time. If a world collapses and is destroyed, if you enter, you will be annihilated as well. Those with low cultivation can be killed at any time. It doesn't look dangerous from the outside, but it's not. None of the 9 great Forbidden Lands are simple. When a world collapsed, the power of destruction and the power of decay could directly wipe out a large number of experts. There was no doubt that Indra had come to move the World Tree to the soaring Heaven Demon Court. With the strength of the Demon Court, they could go to any Forbidden Land. After knowing that this was the legendary Forbidden Land of the world, the eyes of Hu, Mengshi, and the other ministers lit up. Opening up an inner world was almost an indispensable part of becoming an expert. To do so, one had to have world source seeds and life source seeds. If the entire world tree could be moved to the demon court. From then on, the experts of the demon clan would not have to worry about opening up an inner world. This was a blessing that would benefit the demon clan for hundreds of millions of years. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1263. Those who have tickets, please help me. Looking at the Forbidden Land in front of them, the demons were excited. They could not wait to take the world tree and bring it to the demon court so that it would become the demon clan's treasure. It would benefit countless living beings in the demon court. However, Di Shitian did not take action immediately. Instead, he talked to Red Lotus, who was standing beside him, and asked her about something. Red Lotus, I remember that you were suppressed in the Forbidden Land and could not leave because you were suppressing a supreme demon god, the weapon ancestor, who was half a step away from becoming a demon ancestor. However, when I came to the Forbidden Land, I did not sense the weapon ancestor's aura. If I'm not wrong, the weapon ancestor should have escaped. Di Shitian looked at Red Lotus with a serious expression. This time, he went to the Forbidden Land first to fulfill his promise and reunite the sisters. He also wanted to merge the Forbidden Land and the Green Lotus of Creation into the ancient city to make up for the flaws of the ancient city. Secondly, he wanted to kill, refine, and destroy the weapon ancestor who was suppressed under the Forbidden Land. However, when he arrived, he did not sense the weapon ancestor's aura in the Forbidden Land even with his powerful will. He had a feeling that the weapon ancestor had escaped. The weapon ancestor? When Red Lotus heard that, she pouted and opened her eyes wide. She shouted, "Impate! Those demons only know how to scheme. I was suppressing the weapon ancestor until the blood god and the plague god suddenly appeared and used a strange demon treasure to break my seal when I was not paying attention. Then, they escaped through a demon gate. Damn it. Don't let me see them again. Otherwise, I will let them know how powerful I am. As she spoke, her eyes shone with a terrifying cold light. She opened her mouth and revealed 2 sharp canine teeth. Obviously, the blood god and the plague god hated the weapon ancestor to the core. He would remember it in his heart. She was a true little demon girl. He really did escape. Di Shitian was prepared for this, so he wasn't surprised. He frowned slightly and said, "It's a pity that we didn't manage to kill them. Be it the blood god, the weapon ancestor, or even the god of plagues, they were all top experts in the demon deity continent. We didn't manage to kill them completely in the ancient times. After surviving the great calamity of the world and being reborn, they will definitely improve by leaps and bounds. They might even become the Wushang demon lord. Especially the weapon progenitor, who is only a short distance away from the devil progenitor. With the help of this calamity, I'm afraid that he will truly become the weapon progenitor. Almost all of these existences had great luck on their bodies. After surviving a great disaster, they were bound to have good fortune in the future." Di Shitian was only trying to understand the whole story and didn't delve too deeply into it. Once they escaped, it would be almost impossible to find them again. Immediately, he focused his attention on this terrifying forbidden area of the world. The World Tree. Di Shitian glanced at the forbidden area and didn't choose to barge in. Instead, he said slowly, "I know that you will have intelligence and wisdom. You should be able to understand why I'm here today. As long as you are willing, the demon court will prepare the best environment for you to grow. Living soil of the 9 heavens, chaotic divine spring, divine water of creation. Whatever you need, I will satisfy them all." The words were spoken with the bearing of a ruler, directly oppressing the entire forbidden area. It was as if the entire forbidden area was a small boat drifting in the wind and rain. It could be easily crushed into powder at any time. That kind of terrifying aura was so oppressive that even a peerless powerhouse could not breathe. The ministers fell silent and looked at the forbidden area with burning eyes. They didn't want to miss any movement. Crack. Not long after he finished speaking, a huge crack appeared out of nowhere in the forbidden area, turning into a straight passage. One could directly see with the naked eye that in the center of the forbidden area, a towering tree was uprooted from the ground. The trunk of the tree was straight and strong. Every inch of the tree's body flashed with countless mysterious Tao runes. It was constantly absorbing the endless chi of heaven and earth from the heaven and earth. The branches were thicker than mountains. Standing under them, one could only look incomparably small. The tree was hundreds of thousands of feet tall, millions of feet tall, and even tens of millions of feet tall. It was difficult to see the end of the tree. The only thing that could be felt was its boundless aura and its majestic body, which made people feel reverence in their hearts. A light flashed on the tree. A white-haired old man with a ruddy face and a walking stick looked up at Di Shitian. He nodded slightly and said, "Demon Emperor, this old man knows why you are here. However, this old man has been rooted here for hundreds of millions of years. I don't want to leave. I hope your majesty can forgive me." Hearing this, the faces of the ministers in the demon court darkened. Clearly, a strong anger was born in their hearts because of this decisive rejection. However, since your majesty has come in person, this old man can't let your majesty return empty-handed. The old man said calmly. With a wave of his hand, an ancient tree that was only as tall as a person appeared in front of him. It shone with a 7-colored divine radiance and looked like a crystal. It quickly shuttled toward the demon court. "This is..." Sakra's eyes flashed with a trace of light. "This is a seedling that this old man accidentally nurtured back then. It absorbed almost half of my life essence. If your majesty nurtures it with all your strength, its potential will not be inferior to this old man's. It can nurture the source of the world." The old man finished speaking in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. The cracked road was sealed again. The world tree disappeared again. You don't know how to appreciate favors. Your Majesty, why don't you let this subordinate go and uproot that old man and plant him in our ancient city? Shueisha's eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty light. Don't act rashly. The Sakra stopped him with a deep voice. Every living being has the right to choose. The world tree itself doesn't owe us anything. If we forcibly plunder it when we have the power, what's the difference between us and the human race? When Shueisha heard this, he couldn't help but tremble violently. Cold sweat dripped down his forehead. His slightly arrogant attitude toward the demon's power was corrected immediately. He hurriedly knelt and said, I know my mistake. Thank you for your advice, Your Majesty. You can be unyielding, but you can't be arrogant. Di Shitian nodded slightly and said again, plant this world tree in the jade pool. Reverse time and space 10,000 times. Nourish it with all the chi of heaven and earth. Even if he didn't get the world tree itself, it was a great fortune to get a seedling. The demon court didn't stay and left the forbidden land of the world again. When it appeared again, it was already in front of the forbidden land of life. It was for nothing else but the legendary ancient tree of life. However, in response to Di Shitian's invitation, the ancient tree of life made the same choice as the world tree. It was unwilling to leave. Instead, it gave a seedling of the ancient tree of life. It was planted in the jade pool, and time and space were also reversed, giving it enough time to grow. When everything was over, the demon court finally stopped in the sky above the southern barbarian land. It suppressed all directions and ruled the world. 8 days had passed since the demon court arrived on the purple gold continent. Today was the 9th day. It was also the date of the Jade Pool Feast that was announced. Around the demon court, there were tens of thousands of rays of light, thousands of auspicious auras, dragons and phoenixes, divine beasts congratulating, auspicious clouds, and golden lotuses covering the ground. There were fairies dancing, and there were zithers singing. All kinds of auspicious signs flashed outside the ancient city. In front of the southern heavenly gate, the important ministers of the demon court welcomed the guests outside, and the officials of the Ministry of Rites of the 6 ministries were in charge of receiving them. The officials were all wearing black official uniforms, and their faces were filled with endless pride and joy. They welcomed the guests from all directions with a smile. Di Shitian liked the black color, so even the officials of the entire demon court were black. Black represented mystery and nobility. The cultivators of the various heavens entered the demon court one after another. Some of them came to the city to see and appreciate the charm of the immortal divine artifact. Some came to trade and buy some treasures and pills that they needed. The Jade Pool Feast this time was of extremely high standards. Other than the important ministers of the demon court and even friends, those who wanted to participate had to at least reach the level of a peerless expert. Therefore, most of the people who came had the intention of witnessing this grand event with their own eyes. In front of the southern heavenly gate, there was an endless stream. Suddenly, at this moment, in the void, the ancient star space appeared out of nowhere as the sun rose high in the sky. Dazzling rays of starlight fell from the billions of stars in unison, condensing into a path of starlight that stretched straight from the ancient star space to the southern heavenly gate. In the starlight, there was a majestic carriage that seemed to be covered in countless stars. It was pulled by 9 star dragons that were hundreds of thousands of meters long. It was moving quickly on the avenue of stars. In the front, there was a boy and a girl who were driving the carriage. Behind them, there were 4 peerless experts. Although there weren't many people in the carriage, it was more majestic than an army of thousands. Please announce that the progenitor of the Star Clan, the Star Ancestor, has come to the feast to congratulate the Demon Emperor on his ascension to the ruler realm. The boy on the chariot called out clearly. That one sentence brought about a majestic aura. The cultivators in front of the southern heavenly gate couldn't help but open their mouths in shock. The astral progenitor is the legendary progenitor of the astral tribe. His cultivation is profound, and during the ancient war, he fought with the astral fairy tribe's patriarch. Rumor has it that he died. I didn't expect him to still be alive. It looks like the rumors aren't credible after all. The astral progenitor was a peak peerless existence back then. He was only a step away from becoming a half-step ruler. Now that there are signs of him being alive, he must have ascended to the half-step ruler realm. Amidst the discussions, the astral progenitor's origins were quickly spread. Moreover, the carriage was approaching the southern heavenly gate in the blink of an eye. The officials of the demon court's Ministry of Rites came out to welcome them. Suddenly, a sea of blood emerged from the ground in the distance. The blood in the sea flowed in reverse, forcibly paving a bloody path in the void. Monstrous killing intent and battle intent surged like a tide. A blood-colored carriage emerged from the sea of blood, pulled by 9 blood-colored bulls, and rushed toward the southern heavenly gate. Please report that the Azura progenitor has come to the feast to congratulate the demon emperor on his ascension to the ruler realm. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chijian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1264. Those with tickets, please raise. Countless figures of Asuras and Rakshasas appeared on the blood-colored war chariot. Countless blood-colored heads were constantly letting out strange cries and emitting supreme pressure. 4 peerless experts stood on both sides of the war chariot. 2 were ferocious-looking Azura experts, and the other 2 were licentious Rakshasas. The war chariot tore through the air, and a majestic battle intent and murderous aura soared into the sky. The Azura ancestor? Legend has it that the Azura and Rakshasas were born from the Blood Sea. The 2 races can be said to be one race, and their common ancestor is the legendary Lord of the Blood Sea. This ancestor is actually here. As expected, the purple-gold continent is filled with mysteries. In the ancient war, the true main force was the demon race. On the other hand, the 100 races in the heavens did not suffer too much damage. These ancestors did not die. Now, they have all appeared one by one. TSK, the demon emperor has such great face. Even these ancestors who are rumored to have died have come to congratulate him. This demon court can be said to be the center of the myriad worlds. Countless cultivators are racking their brains to enter and settle down in the demon court. The demon court was divided into 6 departments. The Department of Rites function was to conduct ceremonies, test luck, praise, military, guest, and ferocious ceremonies. It was the face of the entire demon court. It was a second-grade official, and its leader was the Minister of Rites. He was a second-grade official and had a high position. When it was first established, no one in the demon court had such talent, so it was temporarily idle. However, now that the recruitment order was issued, the various departments in the demon court were filled. The Minister of Rites had long been taken. He was an ancient person who was extremely familiar with the demon race's etiquette. He had a smooth personality and was an exquisite bird that had attained the Tao. He transformed into a demon and was born with the heart of 7 orifices. Once he gained intelligence, his cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. He escaped a calamity in the ancient times. After learning of the rise of the demon court, he immediately came to seek refuge. He ascended to the position of Minister of Rites. His cultivation level had also reached the peak of the ancient heavenly demon. It seemed that he could advance at any time. His name was Tai Bai. A middle-aged man wearing a black official robe with a natural smile walked forward with a group of subordinates. To be honest, the sudden arrival of Star Ancestor and Blood Sea Lord surprised him. At the same time, a strong sense of pride rose in his heart. Although these people were of noble status, they were all here to congratulate him. Who in the world could have such prestige? I am the Minister of Rites of the Demon Court, Tai Bai. The Star Ancestor and the Lord of the Blood Sea have arrived. Tai Bai has already prepared seats for the 2 of you. Please take a rest inside. Tai Bai Jinxing said with a smile. As soon as he opened his mouth, he naturally gave off a feeling like a spring breeze. Unconsciously, he gave off a sense of intimacy. It made it impossible for anyone to feel any ill will towards him. That's great. Star Lord and Blood Sea Lord walked out of the chariot at the same time. Star Lord looked extraordinarily handsome. He wore a starry robe and a starry crown. His every move seemed to have billions of stars revolving around him. Dense starlight shrouded his entire body. It made his figure appear faintly discernible, adding a hint of mystery to it. On the other hand, Bloodsea Lord wore a blood-red robe. His face naturally revealed a dense chill that made people shudder in fear. A faint layer of blood-red mist shrouded him, carrying the ancestral aura of a primogenitor. Under Defy Jinxing's lead, the two primogenitors entered the demon court. On the way there, they looked at the demon court and were shocked. The huge spirit veins in the city, the perfect great Dao Law, and the heavenly Dao Law net were almost no different from the purple gold mainland. As soon as they stepped in, it was as if they had entered another world. That feeling was extremely difficult to understand. The Shifter Emperor is indeed a peerless genius that only appears once in a lifetime. The more he saw, the more astonished he became. However, outside the southern heaven gate, the Star Ancestor and Bloodsea Lord were clearly the first to arrive. It was like throwing a brick to attract jade. Immediately, strange phenomena appeared one after another in all directions. Experts appeared one after another. The primogenitor of the mighty clan, Herculean God King, is here to congratulate the Shifter Emperor on his promotion to the ruler realm. Please announce his arrival. The primogenitor of the Skeleton Clan, Bone Ancestor, is here to congratulate the Shifter Emperor. Please announce his arrival. The primogenitor of the Three-Eyed God Clan, Incipient God Realm, is here to congratulate the Shifter Emperor on his promotion. Experts at the level of primogenitors that only existed in legends appeared one after another like bamboo shoots after the rain. It was as if they were rushing to the market. The shock in the hearts of all the cultivators gathered outside the southern heaven gate never subsided. It was as if the whole world was being turned upside down. They only felt that their previous worldview was constantly being changed. When these experts who had been hiding appeared one after another, they realized that the foundation of the 100 clans in the universe and the purple gold mainland was far from what they could see on the surface. The Minister of Rights, Defy Jinxing, welcomed them with a big smile, happily greeting these powerful beings who came one after another. Most of the 100 clans in the universe had sent experts. Suddenly, the demon court became the focal point of the entire universe. It gathered the pinnacle forces of the entire continent. Rumble. At this moment, the void distorted, and a huge sun appeared. It emitted a dazzling divine light. Thousands of strange phenomena appeared continuously. Immortal beasts moved freely, fairies danced, and countless immortal flowers floated down. Thousands of heavenly sounds reverberated, and thousands of auspicious auras appeared. The rich immortal aura transformed into all kinds of illusions. The light that bloomed was like that of a sun. As soon as it appeared, it immediately caused a monstrous aura. Countless cultivators who saw it opened their mouths wide. After the sun appeared, it immediately fell towards the purple gold continent at an astonishing speed. It quickly approached the continent, and as it got closer and closer, one could faintly see that it was not a sun, but a huge world. Inside it were vast mountains and rivers, and an unimaginably large number of cultivators. Countless immortal beasts and other things appeared before their eyes. A layer of heaven and earth barrier appeared outside, enveloping the mountains and rivers, making it look like a sun. It's the heaven realm. This is the strongest upper-class world occupied by the human clan, the heaven realm. The heaven realm is falling toward the purple gold mainland. This is the foundation of the human clan. What are the human clan trying to do? When the cultivators who witnessed this scene saw this, they could not help but be shocked. They all stared at it intently. However, a strange situation occurred. When the huge heaven realm fell and smashed into the mainland, it did not cause a huge destructive force, nor did it cause the destruction that they had imagined. Instead, it strangely began to fuse with the entire purple gold mainland. The entire heaven realm's land quickly connected with the mainland. In the blink of an eye, it became a part of the purple gold mainland. It landed in the Middle Earth. This fusion also caused the entire mainland to expand by a portion. Countless human clan cultivators entered the mainland. At the same time, a golden light soared into the sky from the human clan's encampment. Within the golden light, there was an endless noble aura. The aura of an emperor condensed into a golden cloud in the void. Waves of pure and mysterious energy burst out from the bodies of countless human clan cultivators and fused into the golden cloud. Within the cloud, one could see the figures of countless human clan cultivators appearing and continuously praying piously. These prayers turned into a great hymn that echoed between heaven and earth. At every moment, there was an uncountable amount of power of faith being poured into the cloud. This caused the golden divine light to become stronger with every passing moment. Within the golden divine light, a total of 8 god statues appeared between heaven and earth. 3 of them were of different ages. There was an old man, a middle-aged man, and a young man. However, they were wearing the Saint Emperor's robes. Although they were called robes, they were actually robes made of beast skin. The other 5 were wearing emperor's robes of different colors. There was white, green, red, yellow, and gold. They were all different. However, these 8 god statues were bathed in the vast power of faith and continuously absorbed the monstrous power into their bodies, turning into an endless amount of supreme divine power. Each god statue exuded an unparalleled pressure, causing all the human clan cultivators to involuntarily want to worship them after seeing them. It was as if they were facing their own ancestors. That is, the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors of the human clan. The legendary 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors that had long disappeared. The heavenly emperor, the earthly emperor, the human emperor, the white emperor, the green emperor, the yellow emperor, the gold emperor, and the red emperor. These are the 8 leaders that led the human clan to glory. Rumor has it that the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors chose their successors at their most glorious times and left on their own. In the end, they disappeared without a trace. Are the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors going to reappear at the same time? What an enormous amount of power of faith. Their faith is almost connected to the entire human clan. They are the ancestors of the human clan, the leaders that led the human clan to glory. Unknowingly, they are generating faith at every moment. As long as they think of themselves as humans, the power of faith will gather in them. This is too terrifying. Are the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors cultivating? The monstrous power of faith poured into the bodies of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors like a tide. Rumble. At this moment, the statue-like 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors opened their eyes almost at the same time. The moment they opened their eyes, beams of divine light shot out from their eyes and pierced through the entire void. It was as if the primordial gods had awakened from their slumber. Each of them exuded an aura that seemed to surpass even that of a half-step sovereign lord. As soon as they stood up, they seemed to be worshipped by tens of thousands of godly puppets. The void around them twisted violently. The 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, complete human Tao. The 8 figures looked around and calmly uttered a sentence. Suddenly, an altar appeared at the center of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors. On the altar, a simple and unadorned stone statue stood calmly. It didn't emit any aura, but it naturally gave off an invisible pressure. It was so oppressive that even breathing was difficult. It was enough to suppress the void. At this moment, the heavenly emperor took a step toward the ancient stone statue and entered it as if it were an illusion. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1265. Boom. 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 The heavenly emperor fused perfectly into the stone man's body. At the same time, mysterious Tao patterns appeared on the surface of the stone man, intertwining with dazzling divine light. One could see scrolls of the heavenly emperor's reign on the surface. Countless ancient scenes intertwined, and countless ancient citizens worshipped him devoutly. The Tao patterns on the stone man's body were compatible with heaven and earth, blending with the great Tao. An aura that was even more ancient and powerful than that of a half-step sovereign spread out from the stone man's body. The stone man was bathed in endless divine light. Vaguely, the stone man's body moved slightly, and the surrounding heaven and earth shook slightly. What's going on? What is that stone man? The heavenly emperor actually entered the stone man's body. Could he be related to the stone man? The heavenly realm fusing with the purple-gold continent attracted countless gazes. Even a large number of cultivators in the demon court focused their attention on the stone man. Needless to say, the monstrous power of faith was even more shocking. The appearance of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors made the entire world focus on the stone man. At this moment, seeing the changes, countless cultivators still cried out in surprise. They were extremely curious about the stone man. However, the changes did not end there. After the heavenly emperor, the earthly emperor moved as well. His entire body was shrouded in endless divine light. He followed the heavenly emperor's footsteps and appeared in front of the stone man. His entire body merged with the stone man. Immediately, more complex and mysterious Tao patterns intertwined on the stone man. There were scrolls of glory when the earthly emperor ruled the world. The monstrous power of faith continuously poured into the stone man. The stone man was like a bottomless pit. No matter how much power of faith there was, it would still devour it, leaving not a trace behind. There was no sign of it being full. The aura emitted from the stone man was even more ancient and heavy. His 10 fingers were constantly moving. It seemed that the stone man was slowly waking up. Rumble. Without any hesitation, the human sovereign entered the stone body as well. The surrounding void vibrated continuously, giving out terrifying rumbling sounds. Boundless power of faith turned into light rain, sprinkling in all directions. Bathed in the morning light rain, the illnesses in the bodies of countless living beings instantly disappeared, and all their injuries were healed. The blessing spread everywhere. Even more intense divine light enveloped the stone body. The Tao patterns became more and more ancient. Each of them seemed to carry the seal of the human clan since they were born. They carried the history of the human clan, which made them strangely mysterious. His entire body had turned golden, as if he was made of gold. It was exceptionally sacred. The 5 emperors did not hesitate. After the 3 sovereigns entered the stone bodies, they entered the stone bodies one after another. Every time a divine body was integrated into the stone man, the aura it exuded would become even more frightening and the vitality it exuded would become even more overbearing. Countless divine lights appeared in the form of flames, as if they were constantly burning. He was being reborn from the flames. A vast poem of the history of civilization flowed on his body. It was as if this stone body was the beginning of human civilization, the origin of everything. This was the progenitor of the human race, the creator of the human race. As his body moved, the heavens and the earth shook. Whoosh! The stone body opened its eyes. 2 beams of golden divine light condensed and pierced the void, creating 2 terrifying black holes that extended into the chaos. Rumble. The stone man slowly stood up from the altar. In an instant, one could see a vast and boundless heavenly pillar of the great path soaring into the sky. It stood between the heavens and the earth. It was boundlessly tall and incomparably majestic. It was a great path of humanity that ran through the general outline of humanity. The great path was constantly evolving into a great path of humanity. Endless mysterious Tao patterns appeared in the void. One could vaguely see a huge net of heaven and earth's law. It wanted to bind the great path of humanity within the net of law, but the heavenly pillar broke through it without any hesitation and shot straight up. Bang! The stone man took a step forward. Countless divine lights turned into a rain of light and scattered down. The divine light on his body quickly retracted back into his body. Beneath his feet, the earth shook as if the entire world was shaking violently. Thousands of lightning bolts struck down as if they wanted to crush him into dust. However, they could not even touch his skin. It was as if they were just scratching an itch. Bang! 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 Every step he took was unusually steady. Every step he took, a portion of the divine light on his body would be retracted. After 9 steps, the divine light on his body was completely retracted, revealing his body. The original stone body quickly transformed into a burly body. Outside his body, there was an unknown beast's skin draped over his body. Naturally, he exuded a barbaric and ancient aura. He looked extremely ancient. His face was as sharp as a knife. He exuded a resolute aura. His long black hair draped down to his waist. Every strand of hair was as heavy as the heavens and earth. As it fluttered in the wind, the void collapsed under his hair. With a body of 2 meters, it was abnormally tall and sturdy. Its muscles were surging like dragons. An intense aura of power surged out. Human ancestor. The younger generation of the human race greets the human ancestor. Long live the human ancestor. Long live the human race. Countless human beings felt a strong impulse in their bloodlines. Even though they had never seen him before, they couldn't help but kneel down and kowtow to that magnificent figure, letting out excited shouts and worshipping sounds. It's the human ancestor. The human ancestor has revived. The human ancestor has finally awakened. We humans are not afraid of the demon race. You demons have the demon emperor, but we humans have the human ancestor. Tai Yongchang, Tai Yongchang. A large number of human cultivators understood the identity of the figure in front of them through their blood. They all shouted in unison. The pressure that Di Shitian had exerted on them seemed to disperse in an instant. When such shouts reached the demon court, the All Heavens cultivators were so shocked that they could not close their mouths. Their hearts were filled with horror. What? The human ancestor? How is that possible? The human ancestor really exists. Legend has it that in ancient times, there was a rumor among the humans that the human ancestor was the source of the human race's birth. The human ancestor was a supreme divine stone between heaven and earth. He absorbed the endless divine light of heaven and earth, and a divine fetus was born from the stone. There was heaven and earth. He was born with a born Taoism aptitude. He called himself the result of the 3 powers of man, heaven, earth, and man. I thought it was just a legend, but I didn't expect it to be true. The human ancestor really exists. Legend has it that the human race was formed from the divine blood in the human ancestor's body combined with the 5-colored divine earth. Therefore, the human body is divided into 5 elements. Yin and yang are combined, and they reproduce. They are endless. This is all true. The human ancestor exists, and the history of the human race's birth exists. Just now, the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors all entered the human ancestor's body. Could it be that the human ancestor transformed them? What a terrifying pressure. How strong is the human ancestor? I feel that he is not inferior to the demon emperor at all. Could he be a ruler too? Countless cultivators sucked in a breath of cold air. The scene before their eyes was completely shocked. This was a secret from ancient times, but it was completely revealed in front of them. But what was truly terrifying was the human ancestor's strength. No one would have thought that the human race would have such a terrifying trump card. It was an existence like a great killing machine. Bang, bang, bang. The human ancestor didn't stay among the humans. Instead, he stepped into the void and headed straight for the demon court. Every step he took caused ripples to appear in the void. Be on guard. Heavenly King Nantien stood guard in front of the southern heaven gate. He saw the human ancestor striding toward him and said calmly. Instantly, groups of bloodkill guards appeared in front of the heaven gate. Pairs of eyes stared at the human ancestor. As he approached, waves of killing intent surged out like they were corporeal. Human ancestor, our demon court does not welcome humans. Please return. Otherwise, those who trespass into the heaven gate will be killed without mercy. The Minister of Rites, Tai Bai Jinxing, saw the human ancestor approaching. His expression was solemn, but he still showed the majestic aura of the demon race and dared to talk to him directly. The dignity of the demon race was indomitable. Kill, kill, kill. The bloodkill guards shouted and took 3 steps forward. The killing intent on their bodies condensed and they were ready to use their strongest killing move at any time. When the human ancestor heard this, he didn't stop moving forward. A pair of simple eyes fell on the bloodkill guards. An invisible attack instantly collided. Rumble. The void around the bloodkill guards shook violently. Terrifying cracks appeared out of nowhere on their bodies. In the blink of an eye, they covered their entire bodies. They looked like broken ceramics. They looked abnormally terrifying and showed signs of collapsing at any time. In just a glance, there was great power. Human ancestor, do you want to fight with me? In the demon court, a voice with boundless emperor's aura rolled out. Every word condensed into a physical form and turned into a seal that suppressed the human ancestor. Break. The human ancestor's black hair danced wildly behind his head. For the first time, he said a word. A sharp force instantly collided. The void shook and was annihilated at the same time. However, the human ancestor's monstrous aura seemed to be stopped for a moment. However, the air completely froze, as if a great battle was about to begin. Rumble. At this moment, the space distorted. A white figure appeared out of nowhere and blocked in front of the human ancestor. A majestic pressure stopped the battle intent from colliding. Shifter Emperor, human ancestor, listen to this old man. Today is not the day to fight. Since it's your big day, it's naturally not a good time to fight. Let's put it aside for now. The newcomer was the space dominator. Human ancestor, since you're here, let's meet in the city. The fate dominator calmly walked out of the vast river of fate and said slowly, Shifter Emperor, yours truly is here. Don't hide those good wines of yours. Take them all out. Today, I'm going to drink to my heart's content. The demon master with a domineering aura appeared. The moment he appeared, he opened his mouth and roared. Clearly, the three rulers were trying to smooth things over. They didn't want a great battle to break out. The 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors don't have to be so serious. I'm writing about the purple gold continent, not Huaxia mythology. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1266. The 3 sovereigns clearly did not want to see Di Shitian and the human ancestor go to war. After all, the war with the demon god continent was just around the corner. The current war would only deplete the overall strength of the purple and gold continent, so they had no choice but to mediate. In order to prevent the situation from escalating to a point of no return, they were all too aware of the temperament of demon emperors who cultivated the Emperor Dao. When they caused a ruckus, they would be fearless. Since the 3 sovereigns are here, human ancestor, please come in as well. I'll be waiting at the Jade Pool. Di Shitian's voice rang out again. He did not even bother to invite the human ancestor in, and he spoke as if he was giving alms. The human ancestor frowned slightly and snorted coldly, but he did not turn to leave. Behind him, 4 rays of light came from afar and appeared behind the human ancestor. They said respectfully, Taishu, Xuanji, Haoran, and Shenshin pay our respects to the human ancestor. Follow me in, the human ancestor said curtly. He walked into the demon court, and the 3 sovereigns of fate followed him in. A purple and gold path laid out beneath their feet, with heavenly music and purple chi coming from the east, led directly to the Jade Pool. The 4 Dao ancestors of the human race have also come. In this world, only the human ancestor has such great prestige to gather them and make them so respectful. I wonder what kind of sparks will fly from the clash between the demon race and the human race. It's a pity that even the weakest cultivator in this gathering is an ancient demon god. We have no right to participate at all. Otherwise, we might be able to witness an epic event in the world. Some cultivators let out sighs of admiration and discussions. The 4 Dao ancestors just now were the Great Void Dao ancestor, the 4 Stars Dao ancestor, Haoran Dao ancestor, and Shenshin Dao ancestor of the 6 Dao ancestors of the human race. They had founded the Great Void sect, the Heaven Secret sect, the Shenshin Orthodox sect, and the Righteous sect respectively. The 4 Stars Dao ancestor was very unique. She would reincarnate every once in a while, and every time she returned, her cultivation would undergo a metamorphosis. Every time she reincarnated, she would reappear as the 4 Stars Dao ancestor and become the saintess of the Heaven Secret sect. In the Jade Pool, countless strange flowers adorned it, and the stars in the sky served as lamps. The beautiful palace maids danced gracefully and gracefully. The banquet was held on top of the Jade Pool. Inside the Jade Pool, blue waves danced and lotus flowers bloomed. The palace maids were barefooted. They stepped on the lotus leaves and danced like lotus fairies. It was very tempting. Banquet after banquet had already been set up. At the very top, the main seat was naturally Di Shitien's. On both sides, there were 3 purple gold chairs, which were at the same height as Di Shitien's. Obviously, it was to show that they were of the same status. Below, there was a table placed on the ground. The primogenitors of the various races had already taken their seats, using the ancient custom of having 1 seat per person. Every table was filled with delicious wine and delicacies, as well as spirit herbs and spirit fruits. Bursts of exotic fragrance filled the air above the jade lake. In the blink of an eye, the 3 hegemons and the human ancestor arrived at the Naka Lake. The leader of the Green Phoenix swordsmen, Qing Xia, was instructing the women to arrange their seats. Upon seeing them arrive, he stepped forward and said, "Sovereign of Fate, please take a seat." He began to arrange. The Sovereign of Fate sat in the first seat. Then, the Sovereign of Space and the Demon Master filled the 3 golden chairs on the spot. Only the human ancestor did not have a seat. It seemed to be hinting that the human ancestor did not have the right to sit on that golden chair. Shifter Emperor, don't go too far. Dao Ancestor Hao Rant's face showed a hint of anger. The 3 sovereigns were of the same status and realm as the human ancestor, but they were treated in such a manner. This was an undisguised humiliation. Whoosh! At this moment, a purple gold divine light fell from the main seat. Within the divine light, an aura of supremacy surged into the sky. It was as if the entire world revolved around him, and he was sitting on top of all things. Di Shitien's face was dignified without being angry. He met the human ancestor's eyes and said slowly, "Human ancestor, you came too suddenly. I did not prepare a seat for you." This was an undisguised humiliation. The human ancestor came to the Jade Lake and did not even have a seat. This was a resounding slap to the face. The 4 Dao ancestors' faces were filled with anger. "Today, I am not here to congratulate you. So what if I don't have a seat? I only have one purpose for coming here." The human ancestor glanced at the Jade Lake. He did not seem to be angry as he spoke. "Oh." Sakura spat out a word without any change in expression. "This time, the human ancestor is here to ask you one thing, Shifter Emperor." Dao Ancestor Hao Ran said righteously, "The annihilation tide is coming. The demon god's invasion is right before our eyes. I wonder if the demon race dares to fight the demon god again." His voice was filled with righteousness. It seemed to carry the boundless power of heaven and earth and righteousness. He stood on the high ground of reason. However, in the face of Dao Ancestor Hao Rant's question, Di Shitian sat on the throne and did not have any intention of answering. He did not even look at him. He did not even bother to talk. They were not on the same level, so he did not have the right to talk. Whether they dare or not, it should be clear from the battle in the ancient times. At this moment, ministers were stepped forward and said with a cold smile, "Very well. When is the demon race going to fight? How many demon gods are they going to send?" Dao Ancestor Shenshin asked immediately. It was as if he was going to kill them directly. "Fight." Right Minister Mengshi stepped forward, the corners of her mouth pulled into a charming arc. She slowly shook her head and said, "When did the demon race say that we are going to fight? Could it be that the demon race is not willing to resist the invasion of the demon god? Could it be that the demon race intends to disregard the kindness of heaven and earth and betray the purple gold mainland to join the demon god? Or are you preparing to backstab us when we are resisting the demon god?" The celestial maiden of the 4 stars sect immediately pressed down on them. She wanted to directly suppress the demon race with the power of heaven and earth and force them to step into the trap they had predicted. Although there was no bloody light, each sentence was filled with a kind of austere air. It was a battle of words and full of wit. Many progenitors didn't say anything. They just watched silently. In such a situation, any words could affect the rise and fall of a race. It was easier to make an undefeatable enemy. Thus, they all displayed the style of silence. Backstab. That is a characteristic of you humans. The demon race is ashamed to be associated with you. Who sneered disdainfully. Speaking of the kindness of heaven and earth, the demon race has already repaid it in the ancient times with the blood of countless ancestors of the demon race. In the ancient times, the heavenly Tao did not protect the demon race and allowed us to decline. This kindness has already been repaid, so what is there to owe? Heaven and earth have no right to question us, and the thousands of races in the universe have no right to do so because we have repaid with our blood. The peace of all beings in the universe has been built on our corpses, and the human race has even less right to do so. Every word was powerful and resonant, and it directly knocked on the mind of every expert. Many ancestors could not help but reveal a strange expression. Since the human race wants to be the main character of this world, then you should have been prepared. Since you want to be the main character, you should have taken on the responsibility of protecting the purple gold mainland. Now, you want the demon race to help you resist the demon god. How laughable. Extremely laughable. Again, the demon race does not owe anyone anything. This war is a matter of the human race, and the demon race will not participate in it. Mengshi added. What was the momentum of heaven and earth? To the demon race, since the heaven and earth did not care for them, why should they care for the heaven and earth? So what if they did not participate? No one in the world had the right to criticize them. Righteousness? What the hell was righteousness? That was the righteousness of others, not the demon races. Why bother? Very well, let's go. The human ancestors' gaze was fixed on Di Shitian, as if they were engaged in some kind of terrifying confrontation. When the conversation ended, he spat out a sentence and said nothing more. He turned and left. The thoughts of the human race were clearly useless against the demon race. As the saying goes, one can be strong without desires, and one can be firm without demands. No matter what you say, none of it will land on me. The human ancestor led the 4 Tao masters away, and no one stopped him. The Fate Master, the Space Master, and the Demon Master exchanged a glance and saw a trace of helplessness in each other's eyes. However, they could not say anything to blame the demon race. Some things in the ancient times had truly gone too far. Today's situation was caused by the karma of the past. They could not blame the demon race. Everyone. At this moment, Di Shitian picked up the wine goblet in front of him and said calmly, "Today is the celebration of my ascension to sovereign. Since you are all here, you are my honored guests. Let's drink and watch the annihilation tide. Please." With that, the wine goblet gestured to the 3 sovereigns, and then nodded to the many primogenitors. He raised his hand and drank the fine wine in one gulp. "Congratulations, Your Majesty, on your ascension to sovereign. From now on, you will be free and unfettered, immortal and indestructible." The crowd of cultivators raised their wine cups and saluted Sakra from afar, congratulating him in unison. They drank the divine wine together. Whoosh! After finishing the wine, Di Shitian waved his long sleeve. Immediately, a huge ancient mirror appeared in the sky above the jade pool. A ripple flashed in the mirror, and a clear image appeared. What appeared in the mirror was a boundless sea. The color of the sea was a strange, chaotic color. It was boundless, and countless undercurrents surged within it. As they slammed into each other, waves that were hundreds and thousands of meters high rose up from the ground. They let out a terrifying roar. The waves came one after another, and each wave was even greater than the previous one. Rumble. Every moment, a shocking change was happening. A terrifying tsunami was brewing. This is the chaotic ocean. It's the sign of the annihilation tide. This thought appeared in the minds of all the primogenitors. Then, they all stared seriously at the mirror, wanting to remember every single change of the tide. One wave after another seemed to have accumulated to a critical point. It exploded with a bang. A wave of billions of feet high rose from the ground like a real tsunami. It swept wildly in all directions with earth-shattering force. Everywhere it went, everything was reduced to dust. The primordial godfiends who did not have time to dodge were swept into the tide and silently annihilated. A vast purple-gold continent appeared in the ancient mirror. An invisible barrier separated the continent from the ocean. At the edge of the continent, bubbles formed one after another. One could vaguely see that each bubble was a huge world. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidyen.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1267. That's the 10,000 worlds. The hearts of the various experts were extremely clear. They were all existences that stood at the peak of the world. They were extremely clear about the world. When they saw the scene, they understood that those were the greater kiliocosms and lesser kiliocosms created by the various experts of the violet gold continent. These worlds could not exist alone in the chaos. They could only rely on the great path laws of the purple gold mainland to achieve the goal of not being annihilated by the chaos. Looking at those large and small worlds, they were densely packed and distributed in every corner of the purple gold mainland. At a glance, it was as if beautiful mountains and rivers were imprinted on the purple gold mainland. Rumble. A terrifying tidal wave roared and swept across the entire Zijin continent. That overwhelming scene was like a mortal facing a tsunami. A strong sense of paleness and helplessness flashed across. The annihilation tide came so quickly. This time is indeed different from the past. It came quickly and fiercely. It seems like this is the sign of the impending catastrophe. The space dominus frowned slightly and muttered to himself. The monstrous tide did not provide any buffer time at all and directly pounced on the purple gold mainland. Boom, boom, boom. The purple gold mainland was like a small boat in the middle of a vast ocean. On the spot, there was a violent roar. Heaven and earth became pitch black. Bright pillars of the great path rose straight into the sky, supporting the entire world. Countless chains of laws intertwined to form a net that enveloped heaven and earth, forming a barrier between heaven and earth. It firmly resisted the annihilation tide that poured down. It was like a divine needle that stabilized the sea. It stabilized heaven and earth. However, that kind of insignificance was clearly imprinted in the souls of every living creature. Demon Master, this 9 heavens fairy wine is brewed from 9 types of rare spiritual fruits. Usually, even I have a hard time tasting it. Today, I am able to witness the annihilation tide and enjoy the passing of time. Such a blessing, let's drink together. Di Shitian sat on the throne and watched the spectacular scene of the annihilation tide while raising his cup to invite the Demon Master to drink. Great! The Demon Master laughed heartily. They raised their glasses and drank together. In the ancient mirror, one could clearly see that the purple gold continent was like a boulder standing in the middle of the tide. However, the heavens and realms that were attached to the continent were like snowflakes in the summer. They were destroyed with a loud bang, and the barriers between the heavens and earth collapsed. All life within them instantly turned into nothingness, disappearing without a trace. However, the purple gold mainland also displayed its strength at this moment. Under the crushing of the tides, the shattered greater thousand worlds drilled into the mainland and connected with the borders of the mainland. With a loud rumble, they merged with the purple gold mainland and became a part of the mainland. It caused the continent to expand outwards. Once they merged, the 3,000 great dows of the purple gold mainland immediately protected them. It was not affected by the erosion of the tides. Boom, boom. One by one, the greater thousand worlds were crushed by the tides and turned into fragments, completely merging with the purple gold land. There was not a single greater thousand world that could withstand the tide. In some of the worlds, there were still some living beings. These living beings didn't even have time to scream before they were annihilated. Not a single living being could withstand it. In the ancient mirror, one could only see those greater thousand worlds exploding and shattering like fireworks. They melted like bubbles. In the jade pool, after seeing this, the expressions of many experts changed completely. A deep sense of fear and insignificance grew in them. They asked themselves, if they were in there, they would probably be annihilated along with everything inside. They would turn into dust and completely cease to exist. Even in the river of fate and the river of time, no traces of them could be found. Boom, Boom! In the blink of an eye, the countless worlds attached to the purple-gold mainland completely turned into nothingness. The entire purple-gold mainland merged with the heavens and realms in a short period of time and expanded by 1/3. On the mainland, there were many sceneries and areas that had never existed before. In the mainland, the ancestral veins were constantly surging. They were wantonly absorbing the endless chaotic energy from the chaos. They were converted into pure carnate vital chi and poured into the heavens and earth. Immediately, he could feel that the original Hutian Yuan chi on the violet gold mainland was transforming at an astonishing speed. Waves after waves of Xiantian Yuan chi gushed in, transforming from Hutian to Xiantian. Moreover, it was rapidly growing, transforming from thin Xiantian Yuan chi to rich Xiantian Yuan chi. Spiritual herbs of the heavens and earth that only existed in the ancient age were being born. The entire world was returning to the ancient age. Although the creation of the heavens and realms made the heavens and earth prosperous, it caused the purple gold mainland to decline. Now that the heavens and realms have been annihilated and returned to one, the purple gold mainland is finally returning to its original appearance. It won't be long before the mainland returns to the ancient age. The Space Dominus sighed. He raised his cup and drank a cup of divine wine. The creation of the heavens and realms was dependent on the purple gold mainland to absorb nutrients from the mainland and plunder most of the vital chi. The more worlds were created, the thinner the vital chi on the mainland. It was a pity that the vital chi had transformed into acquired vital chi. At this moment, it was truly beginning to return to its original appearance. Ha 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 ha. I've broken through. What dense heaven and earth vital chi. Heavenly tribulation, my heavenly tribulation is here. After transforming from acquired to innate, the shackles on his body were completely removed. Many cultivators who had grown up on the mainland felt that the laws of heaven and earth were so clear. They directly devoured the vital chi and broke through one after another. They all welcomed the heavenly tribulation. Apparently, with the beginning of the return to the ancient age, the strength of the entire mainland would begin to erupt at an astonishing speed. All the savings of the past would erupt completely. Withered trees would come back to life in spring, stagnant water would turn into a spring, and green trees would form a shade. Clear spring water gushed out of the ground. All kinds of strange phenomena appeared one after another. It was as if the entire purple gold mainland was recovering its vitality and returning to the boundless prosperity of the ancient times. The dense carnate vital chi directly caused many birds, beasts, flowers, and trees on the mainland to develop intelligence at an astonishing speed and open their spiritual cavities. They transformed into demons. Moreover, the number was astonishing. Witnessing this scene, many of the demon court's ministers sneered. In the ancient times, the creation of the heavens and realms had thinned out the vital chi of the entire world. Without a doubt, it had caused the number of demons to sharply decrease. Every time they gained intelligence, it would take thousands of years. As a result, the number of demons could not increase. This was a vicious plan to kill them all. When the primogenitors saw this, there was a trace of undetectable awkwardness on their faces. The annihilation tide came abnormally fiercely, so much so that the entire void was trembling violently. It seemed like it would collapse at any time. A terrifying aura pressed down on every living being. They could clearly feel the destructive aura. The tide surged violently, causing their hearts to waver. Everywhere it passed, everything was annihilated. As for the tide, it came quickly and left quickly. When the entire tide rolled over the purple goldland, the primal chaos ocean that had become calm slowly began to calm down. Pieces of seawater slowly turned into gas and rose up, gradually condensing into primal chaos chi. Whoosh! A purple gold rainbow suddenly broke through the sky from the demon god mainland. With a bang, it pierced through the chaos and appeared above the purple gold mainland. It descended, forming a purple gold divine bridge that connected the two mainlands. This divine bridge seemed to be able to stabilize the chaos chi and suppress it. No chaos chi could get close to the divine bridge. Once it got close, it would be imprisoned. The divine bridge was vast and boundless. No one knew how many cultivators could pass through it at the same time, as if there was no limit. It has indeed appeared. The annihilation tide can stimulate the origin. The purple gold mainland and the demon god mainland have the same origin. Once the annihilation tide passes, it will immediately form a divine bridge of heaven and earth, piercing through the chaos and connecting the two mainlands. This will allow the experts of the two mainlands to travel freely, the Space Dominator said solemnly. The demon god mainland has been unable to invade on a large scale because ordinary demon gods are unable to travel through the chaos. With the divine bridge of heaven and earth as a path, the demon army of the demon god mainland will definitely arrive in the shortest time possible. The war is just around the corner. Seeing the divine bridge of heaven and earth, the entire Jade Pool banquet was shrouded in an indescribable solemnity and pressure. This was the heaviness of the impending war. Shifter Emperor, thank you for your hospitality. However, we have to go back and prepare for the impending war. If we don't die in the future, we will pay a visit. The Lord of the Blood Sea suddenly stood up and said heroically, his blood-red hair dancing in the wind. That's right. Thank you for your hospitality, Your Majesty. This banquet is really good for our departure. In the future, we will have a good battle with those demons on the battlefield. Let's see who will rise and fall. The Star Ancestor also spat out a sentence full of determination. This is a toast to everyone's departure. Di Shitian raised his cup from afar and said calmly. In his voice, there was no intention of leading the demon race to participate in the war. It was as if he really intended to stay out of it and watch with folded arms. Many experts said their goodbyes one after another. This war was a war between races. There was no right or wrong, only success or failure. None of them could stay out of it. It was impossible for them to leave the purple gold mainland. This was the foundation of everything. If the mainland was invaded by the demon gods, they would be completely annihilated. The consequences of having their entire race wiped out left them with no way out. Fight. Fight to the death with no regard for anything. This was the only way out. In the blink of an eye, the experts of various races left one after another. The banquet gradually came to an end. Only the three hegemons remained seated. The demon master looked deeply at Di Shitian and said slowly, Shifter Emperor, no matter what, I hope to see you on the battlefield. This war may not only involve the demon gods, but also the primordial god-fiends. This is a true battle of life and death. Perhaps I will fall. Perhaps all three of us will fall. However, you are right. You demon race don't owe anyone. Any cultivator. What you do is up to you. See you on the battlefield. The ruler of fate said inexplicably. Without lingering, the three rulers left at the same time. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chijian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,